7491 25,000 or texting or WhatsApping 086 60 25,000. And you can, of course, email comments at Highland Radio. The show, as usual, is streamed on our website, highlandradio.com, and our social media platforms if you wish to watch along. We're going to start, though, with a look at the papers, and starting with the local papers this morning. The Donegal News: Coughlin rules out running for president ahead of 2025 election. Chairperson of the Donegal GAA County Board and former Taoiseach Mary Coughlin has shut down rumours that she will be throwing her hat into the ring to replace Michael D. Higgins as president. Speaking to the Donegal News, the Frosses native expressed her shock at the circulating rumours. Becoming the first female chairperson of the Donegal County Board in 2023, Miss Coughlin said her emphasis at present is working towards Donegal's All-Ireland semi-final against Meath on Sunday week. The time really is of the essence, I think, for the presidential race. It isn't until November, but if you were thinking of running, I'm sure they would need to get their campaign off the ground. There doesn't seem to be any clear front runners at this stage. I know there's so many talks about possibly Mairead McGuinness running the MEP, the former Midlands Northwest MEP. But yeah, I think they'd need to be getting their campaign off the ground. The Tyrconnell Tribune this morning: Creeslaw curate refutes rumours. At the weekend masses in St Michael's Church in Creeslaw, Father John Joe Duffy took time before the final blessing to speak to the congregation of his hurt and anguish over the past 6 months. He told massgoers this was caused by the spread of rumours and falsehoods that have attempted to damage his character and good name. The church community was told that falsehoods circulated in recent months, alleged that Father Duffy wished to leave Creeslaw and had already chosen a parish that he wanted to be a parish priest firstly, and secondly that he wanted a change of parish. The other rumour he referenced was that he wanted and had requested a particular parish. Father Duffy, in his remarks, refuted all these allegations. Massgoers said that they were told that never at any time did Father Duffy want to be or sought to be a parish priest. I can understand why Father John Joe was upset at them rumours. I suppose he's been at the heart of that community and been such a support for them in difficult times. The Derry News: £46 million paid by housing executive for temporary accommodation in Derry. The NI Housing Executive has paid more than £46 million to the providers of temporary accommodation in the Foyle constituency alone in the past 5 years. The figure paid to hotels and bed and breakfast establishments, which the housing executive uses as temporary accommodation, was obtained through a Freedom of Information request submitted by Derry Into representative Emmett Doyle. The request was initially refused, but following an appeal, some of the information was released. Commenting on the £46 million figure, Mr Doyle said, "I admit to being shocked when I collated the numbers and had them checked by multiple third parties to ensure their accuracy." That's a huge amount of money, and I suppose it raises the question, surely this money could have been spent providing the much needed housing that, the figure obviously represents the need for the housing, £46 million worth, and obviously there's still families and still people there that are in need of that housing and it isn't being delivered, but yet they're happy to pay out that money year after year. Moving now to the national papers: the Irish News: Carey pleads guilty to defrauding people in cancer treatment hoax. Former Kilkenny hurler DJ Carey has pleaded guilty to defrauding people out of money by claiming he needed to fund treatment for cancer he didn't have. The nine-time All-Star hurler, who won 5 All-Ireland senior titles for Kilkenny, stood in the Dublin Circuit Criminal Court with his hands clasped in front of him and pleaded guilty to 10 of the 21 charges he was facing. Wearing a dark suit, blue shirt and patterned dark tie, Mr Carey, aged 54, showed no emotion as Miss Justice Patricia Ryan was told by Dominic McGinn SC that the state was asking for Noel prosecute in relation to another charge and that the other charges be taken into consideration. There's so much in the courts this week, but it's crazy thinking somebody, a sporting legend that was admired by so many people, and at one stage he appeared to have it all. He had a multimillionaire partner, he had so many senior title medals, and then he lost everything then in the crash. But to scam people then out of thousands of pounds of money is just crazy. And especially when there's so many people that receive that cancer diagnosis every day and they're struggling with this, to think somebody would use that as an excuse then to try and get money from people. Another court case, this is something, and another podcast recommendation. I love podcasts, but the trial of Diddy is an unreal podcast. It takes you through from the very start of the trial, the evidence that was being brought forward. It was published 2 times a week, and it was just a great podcast, and it broke down everything for you. This relates to the story in the Irish Independent today. So Sean Diddy Combs dropped to his knees and prayed in the courtroom after he was acquitted yesterday of sex trafficking and racketeering charges that could have put one of hip-hop's most celebrated figures behind bars for life. The rapper was convicted of lesser prostitution-related offences and still faces prison time. The mixed result capped a sordid legal odyssey that shattered Combs' affable Puff Daddy image and derailed his career as a Grammy-winning artist and music executive, fashion entrepreneur and brand ambassador and reality TV star. So Combs was convicted of flying people around the country, including his girlfriends and paid male sex workers, to engage in sexual encounters, a felony violation of the Federal Mann Act. But the jury of 8 men and 4 women acquitted Combs of racketeering, conspiracy and sex trafficking charges related to allegations that he used his money, power and frightening physical force to manipulate his girlfriends into hundreds of drug-fueled sex marathons with the men. It's just, I find it such a disturbing case. And in that podcast that I referenced, you know, it goes through the evidence from his girlfriends. There's Cassie Ventura and there's another girlfriend of his, and they speak of these incidents, and Cassie speaks of how, you know, he got involved, or she got involved in that, how it started. You know, he was saying that these incidents were for her. You know, he would have brought in a male prostitute, and then she just felt she was compelled. She had no other option. They were they claim that they were in fear of him, and that, you know, they felt their life was in danger by other things that he had done and threats that he had made against them. It is such a disturbing case. The Irish Daily Star now, raise pension more than dole is the headline. Taoiseach Simon Harris has suggested the rate for those receiving job seekers benefit should not increase as much as the pension rate in the budget. It comes as Finance Minister Paschal Donohoe warned choices will have to be made in Budget 2026. In the last budget, Fine Gael had sought to increase job seekers' payment and the pension by different amounts. However, there was pushback by the Green Party and to a lesser degree Fianna Fáil. Government sources told the Star that it is too early to make any decisions on any budget matter, noting that the summer economic statement has yet to be published. Speaking to reporters after a meeting of the Government Trade Forum, Mr. Harris said budgets are all about choice and they're all about balance, and there's only so much money in the pot. That's well and good, but those people that are on job seekers benefit, I'm sure, you know, they're crying out for an increase, and they need to live with this cost of living crisis as does everyone else. So I think, you know, they need to increase the pension and increase the job seekers, and need to keep in mind this continual rise of the cost of living, that they can't just, you know, let people suffer along despite them saying there's no money, not enough money in the pot to go around. The Irish Daily Mirror, another court case, Conor McGregor and a couple he put forward and subsequently withdrew as witnesses in his appeal, are now facing potential criminal prosecution. 3 judges of the Court of Appeal made the bombshell decision to refer documentation put forward by counsel for Nikita Hand to the Director of Public Prosecutions yesterday following claims of perjury. The judges made the decision off the back of claims by John Gordon SC for Miss Hand that perjury may have occurred in this case after sworn affidavits were opened in court by the now withdrawn witnesses Samantha O'Reilly and Stephen Cummins. The couple had sworn affidavits claiming they heard a row between Miss Hand and her then partner on the night of December the 9th, 2018 after the alleged rape, with Miss O'Reilly claiming she saw the row from her bedroom in a house across the road. She claimed Miss Hand's then boyfriend pushed her and said she saw him moving his arms and hips as though he was punching and kicking her. Mr. Cummins had claimed he was woken by screams and shouts coming from Miss Hand's house, but said he did not see what happened. So their claims have now been totally withdrawn by McGregor, with Miss Hand's counsel seeking an apology from him over the ordeal. And that is obviously continuing, and I don't think we'll hear the end of that entire case anytime soon. The Sun now, €5 million spent but no dent in wait list. The Health Minister admits she's unhappy a €5 million boost for kids' spinal services hasn't led to a major cut in wait times. Jennifer Carey-McNeill has now ordered an audit of Children's Health Ireland practices, the final stages of a bill that forces the HSE to create a national treatment service to ensure kids are not left waiting too long for scoliosis operations, was yesterday passed by the Seanad. I suppose that is the job of the ministers to, kind of try and right the wrongs. And I seen that story today and I was thinking she has an awful lot going on. There's calls this surgical hub needs to be delivered for Donegal, and there's so much right around the country, but she's in that position and she obviously needs to make a difference and listen to those who are in need of these services. The Irish Daily Mail: Sinn Féin called on the Lord Mayor of Belfast, Tracy Kelly, to explain the decision to remove a portrait of President Michael D. Higgins from Belfast City Hall. Following a social media post by Miss Kelly, Sinn Féin councillors were quick to notice that a portrait of Mr. Higgins had been removed from a reception parlour in the building. Sinn Féin has now called on Miss Kelly to explain the decision to remove the portrait. The portrait had been placed in the reception room by Sinn Féin's Ryan Murphy when he was Lord Mayor. The picture was put up after Mr. Murphy received a portrait of King Charles and decided to place the two side by side. This was then followed by a formal event to mark the occasion. The portrait's disappearance prompted Mr. Murphy to question its whereabouts in a council meeting on Tuesday. Belfast City Council confirmed that the portrait, despite no longer being on display, is being stored safely at the City Hall at the request of the current Lord Mayor. So poor Michael D. Higgins has just been taken off the wall and stored somewhere else in the meantime. Finally, for now, the Irish Farmers Journal: potential tractor driving test gets mixed reviews from the farming community. There has been a mixed reaction from farmers over the potential introduction of a tractor driving test. The Road Safety Authority recently revealed that the introduction of a tractor driving test, as well as a mandatory training programme, is currently under review. The Minister for Agriculture, Martin Hayden, said that he would be concerned about any impediments to the availability of tractor drivers, particularly during busy periods for farmers such as harvest. Minister Hayden told the Irish Farmers Journal that road safety is really important and farm safety is extremely important. I actually had to check this out whenever I read it. I presumed there would have been a tractor test, and obviously that I feel would feed into road safety, because in Northern Ireland that there is the scenario that you can do a tractor driving test at 16. So my understanding is that you need a tractor driving test in the north, and yeah, I do find it a wee bit hard to believe, but I suppose then the argument is that farmers are arguing that they would find it hard to get tractor drivers then if they did have to go through this driving test. So I suppose you have to weigh up all options. If you have any views on any of those stories, get in touch by calling 074 91 25,000, or you can text or WhatsApp 086 60 25,000 and email comments@highlandradio.com. We'll be back shortly.
Daily newspapers are courtesy of Cosgrove, Centra and Diner, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
It's midsummer markdowns time at McElhinney's department store in Ballybuffet. Enjoy up to 25% off your favourite designer brands across fashion, accessories, home and much more. Discover top offers and unmissable deals in store from Monday to Saturday, or shop online at mcelhinneys.com today.
All you need to make your house a home at Patterson's The Halliford. From garden furniture to kitchens, sofas and dining sets, all under one roof. Need a new mattress? Why not visit our sleep centre on the first floor? With a large range of quality beds and mattresses in stock and ready for collection or delivery. Relax in our coffee shop serving hot lunches daily. Open Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Patterson's Kitchens and Interiors, the Hall Lifford.
Attention dancing queens. On Saturday 12th of July, Jackson's Hotel Balbuffet presents Mamma Mia, the live experience, starring the Dynamos Tribute performing all your favourite ABBA hits. Gather your dancing queens, grab your Prosecco and say I do, I do, I do to the ultimate feel-good evening. Tickets $28.50. Book online now at jacksonshotel.ie.
This week only, get a free upgrade to Loganair's Fly Flex fare. Enjoy a larger 23 kilo hold luggage allowance, increased change flexibility, and collect more Avios, all at no extra cost. T's and C's and exclusions apply. Book by 9th July, travel from 1st August. Booking changes may incur additional fees. Book today at loganair.co.uk.
Plan something new at the start of the year? Well, who hasn't? Now's your second chance with the 252 registrations at iMotors. Take the wheel of the iconic Qashqai, the bold X-Trail, the sporty Duke, or go electric with the stunning Nissan Ariya. They're here and they're waiting for you. Visit imotors.ie today.
iMotors, fearless generation.
At Restex Beds, we are celebrating 50 incredible years in business. And we are introducing our brand new Glenveigh mattress, comfort that's as legendary as our half-century legacy. Experience 50 years of bedding excellence at Restex Beds, Mountaintop Letterkenny. Restex Beds, leave the rest to us.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is
now 20 past 9. Now, many would have woken up to the sad news this morning that a young girl had been killed and 3 other people have been seriously injured in a crash involving a car and a van in Carndonagh yesterday evening at around 6:30. The woman who was driving the car, a male front seat passenger and another child who was a back seat passenger were rushed to Altnagalvin Hospital in Derry in a serious condition. I'm joined now by the Cahirlock of the Inishowen Municipal District, Councillor Martin McDermott. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Michaela.
This is very sad news, and Councillor McDermott, you arrived on the scene shortly after the collision.
Yeah, we were coming home from Letterkenny yesterday evening, and well, it was a bit back from the scene. Like the cars were backed up, but you know, you could see that there was a serious accident. You could see the emergency services, you know, were in trying to get to the scene as quickly as possible. It's devastating news this morning, you know, for the whole peninsula, especially for the families involved, in particular for the young girl who lost her life. It's tragic. You know, there is no words, Michaela, that you can put on this. The sadness that people are feeling this morning. You know, there's another black cloud over Inishowen again when it comes to road traffic accidents. We seem to just it just seems to keep on happening. No one really knows why. But it's a really, really sad day here in Inishowen this morning. And you know, there's still family members that are critically ill in hospital, and I would ask people to pray for them, to pray for them that they make a recovery, and to pray for everyone involved, because you know, there is, as I say, no words that you can put onto this morning. It's just devastating news for everyone involved.
Yeah, and do we know, is this a local family?
Yeah, there's a local family from Carndonagh. They live in Cairn, and you know, widely known around the area. So it makes it extremely difficult for people to comprehend what has happened, and the loss of any life, but the loss of a life of a little girl is really, really devastating for everyone to take. And I just want to, you know, acknowledge the emergency services as well. Last night the guards, the fire brigade, the ambulance, and the rescue helicopter from Sligo as well that was on the scene. I just want to acknowledge the work that they do in times like this, in very, very difficult times. But I would ask people to please keep these people, these families, these members in their prayers over the next number of hours, that hopefully they make a recovery, and just to keep the little girl that lost her life in their prayers as well.
Absolutely. And you referenced there earlier that unfortunately Inishowen is no stranger to road deaths, and it will be difficult for families who have lost loved ones in such tragic circumstances as well to know that another family now has been left in a similar situation.
Yeah, as I say, Michaela, it's very hard to comprehend why there's so many tragic accidents here in Inishowen, and we have yet another one. It seems to be a regular occurrence, and no one knows why. But all we can do is just, hopefully try and keep people as safe as we can on the roads. And I know there is a lot of work being done on that at the minute, but it's just devastating this morning to hear and to know that we've lost another life on our roads here in the peninsula. And let's hope that we can, make sure that this doesn't happen again. But sadly, it just does keep on happening.
Yeah, Councillor Martin McDermott, Cahirlock of the Inishowen Municipal District, thank you so much for joining us this morning in such a difficult, sad time. Inspector Sean McDade, Community Engagement Inspector with responsibility for road policing in Donegal, joins me as well. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Michaela.
So, Inspector McDade, you're issuing an appeal for information this morning.
Yes, we would appeal to any members of the public that would have camera footage, possibly dash cam, that were travelling in the area between Quigley's Point and Clondona between 6 p.m. and 6:30 p.m. yesterday evening, Wednesday the 2nd of July, to make that footage available to Garda Síochána.
And it is so important that any small piece of information anybody has, that they do share it with yourselves at this time.
Yes, that's right, Michaela. Anything that people have, even if they think it's really insignificant, might be really important to the investigation.
That is Inspector Sean McDade there. Thank you so much for that this morning. So anybody with information, they can contact Buncrana Garda Station on 074 932 0540, the Garda Confidential line on 1800 666 111, or any Garda station. So Gardaí are appealing to anyone who witnessed the collision to contact them. And as you heard from Inspector Sean McDade there, particularly anybody who has camera footage, including dash cam, and were in the area between 6 and 6:30 p.m. yesterday to make the footage available to Gardaí. And we keep all those who have been injured and remain in hospital at this time in our thoughts and prayers. And remember that young girl who lost her life as well. It's a very sad time for Inishowen and the family at the centre of this. Look into some of your comments now that have come in. I was shocked to discover yesterday that figures released by the HSE said that people are opting out of the organ donation scheme at a rate of almost 155 every hour since the law came into force on June the 17th. As a mother whose daughter was given a new lease of life from an organ donation, I wish I could understand their decision making. Is it lack of education on organ donation, or have we become such a nation of self-absorbed people that we no longer want to help anyone? That is a very divisive topic, and it is a great discussion. I suppose, hearing then of someone who firsthand has got a new lease of life in relation to receiving someone's organ. If you have any thoughts on that, get in touch on 074 91 25000 or text or WhatsApp 086 60 25000. Another listener says, I will prefix this by saying this is not a target to any one person, but once again the councillors have a proposal to name another part of the town after someone. The giving of names should be reserved for those over 100 years deceased. If their name still lives after that, then they are truly deserving. This naming ceremony for the few is beyond ridiculous. Can anyone explain the system behind the naming of an area after someone other than some member of the council looking after a small circle of friends? Half of these people have not served in public life and are meaningless to the majority of the population of Donegal. Please let a bit of common sense prevail and someone put a stop to these councillors' lack of foresight. Best kept estate competition, Ballybuffet and Stranorlar. Do you take pride in your estate? Show it off in this year's Best Kept Estate competition, celebrating community spirit, cleanliness and pride of place across the Twin Towns. It's open to all residential estates in Ballybuffet and Stranorlar. Judging will take place on Wednesday the 23rd of July. prizes for best kept estate, most improved and more. Let's come together is a message to recognise the hard work and care that makes our towns shine. So there you go if you want to spruce up your garden, although today doesn't look like the day to be sprucing up outside at all. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back just after these.
Experience HOME, Ireland's first aerial hip opera by Fidget Feet and Toby Omoteso. A thrilling mix of aerial dance, hip hop, spoken word and opera. Featuring critically acclaimed rapper Woolsey. 9 performers, 1 unforgettable night. HOME lands at Angrinnan Theatre on July 19th. Don't miss this powerful genre-defying show. Tickets available now at angrinnan.com or by calling the box office team on 074 9120 777.
A huge stock clearance marquee sale is now on at McGinley's Furniture in Letterkenny, clearing over €1 million of top quality furniture. Sofas, beds, mattresses, dining sets, occasional furniture and more, all heavily discounted in store and even further reduced in the clearance marquee with up to 70% off. It's from 10 until 6 daily until this Saturday only, and it's first come first served, so don't miss out at McGinley's Furniture, Portlink Business Park, Letterkenny.
I had problems with my knees for about 7-8 years. I think I'd give Kingsbridge 5 stars just because of the support and help that they gave me before and after the surgery. I was a public patient and the HSE reimbursed the cost.
Republic of Ireland residents can get rapid access to cross-border surgeries at Kingsbridge private hospitals in Belfast and Derry, with medical costs reimbursed by the HSE. Find out more at kingsbridgeprivatehospital.com/cross-border. Kingsbridge, your fast track to 5-star care. Terms and conditions apply.
The moment you got told the good news.
Rob, you made the panel.
When the lads added you into the group. Skipping nights out, missing the crack. Rewatching classics and learning new tricks. Being driven to the biggest game of your life by your mam. And then you finally come on in the 51st minute. It's the minor moments that last a lifetime. The Electric Ireland GAA Minor Championships. This is major.
At Fleming's, we take great pride in having provided quality steel and roofing to all our customers throughout Ireland since 1860.
Tell them about the doors, John.
OK, Mike. We also provide a full quality range of
doors, industrial doors, garage doors, roller doors, insulated doors.
Thanks for that, Mike.
No dramas, mate.
Fleming's, engineering solutions for 150 years. Call us now on 074 91 48 234.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Now, you will have heard of the sad news yesterday about the passing of brother Kevin Crowley, and tributes have been pouring in since we learnt of the sad passing of brother Crowley, the founder of the Capuchin Day Centre in Dublin at the age of 90. Brother Kevin founded the Capuchin Centre in Dublin in 1969. I'm joined now by Brother Richard Hendrick, the Provincial Minister of the Irish Capuchin Franciscans. Good morning to you, Brother Hendrick.
Good morning. It's good to be with you.
And first of all, condolences to yourself this morning. It's a very sad time for yourselves.
Well, it is, yes, of course, absolutely, whenever we have the passing of one of our brothers. But I suppose we view it as a further journey that Brother Kevin has been embraced by, as St. Francis called her, our sister death. Please God is receiving the reward for all of the great work that he has done. We pray for him and for the repose of his soul, but really that's our goal, to walk through that doorway. So even though we might be sad that we'll be missing his earthly presence and indeed his earthly work, we trust that he's at peace and in the fullness of God's merciful love now.
And talk to us a bit about Brother Crowley and his setting up of the Capuchin Centre in Dublin.
So in the mid-1960s, Brother Kevin was here in Church Street, where I'm currently located, in Dublin 7, Dublin's inner city. He was aware, as indeed the rest of the friars were, that there were a number of people, all of them at the time men, most of whom suffered from various forms of alcohol addiction, who were present in a number of homeless hostels around the area. Now, the hostels did a great job at sheltering them at night, but unfortunately they were out around the streets for the day and often didn't have many places to go, and they sometimes came and sheltered in our church, or they called to the friary for food and would be looked after. But Kevin wanted to do something more, something that would assist them in lifting them up a little bit, in raising their dignity, and in giving them a place to kind of to dwell. And so originally beginning just simply with a number of old kind of garages that we had at the back of the friary, he created a centre, literally a day centre, a place they could stay for the day, that they could shelter in for the day, that they could have kind of conversation in, that their physical needs could begin to be met, and a safe place for them as well, and a place where recovery even could begin for them. And that was the beginning of the day centre back in 1969.
And it's a true example of the ministry and doing good to improve other people's lives.
Well, absolutely. I mean, it's part and parcel of who we are as Capuchin Franciscans. We follow the gospel of Christ in the way of St. Francis, and Francis called all of his brothers to recognize it in every human being, indeed in every creature, not just every human being, but we were called to see a brother or a sister, those who are beloved of God, and we're called to recognize the presence of the Lord in them, and to do all that we can to reverence their dignity and to raise them up, whatever the particular needs may be. So since the 1520s, when we began as a particular branch of the Franciscans, in fact today we're 497 years old as a group, we've been working with those who are on the margins, with the elderly, with the sick, the poor, the homeless, and we continue to do that in all of our places around the world to this day.
Yeah, and he's no doubt a shining example to others. And even Pope Francis, during a visit to Ireland in 2018, praised his work as well.
He did, yeah. It was. I think it was the highlight of Brother Kevin's ministry there in the day centre, when we discovered that in 2018, when the Pope was making his pastoral visit to Ireland, Pope Francis as it was at the time, that he had requested to come to see the day centre. We all know the kind of man Pope Francis was, and particularly how he envisioned the ministry of the papacy at the time as being a ministry of healing and reconciliation, and also particularly of outreach to the poor. So he had taken Francis as his papal name after Francis of Assisi, and so there was very much a meeting of minds and hearts between himself and Brother Kevin, and we rejoiced to welcome him here to the day centre. And he visited with Kevin, and indeed with many of our guests who come to avail of the services there during the day.
And he worked at this for quite some time, up to recent years as well, before he decided to take a step back. Isn't that right?
That's right. He retired at the wonderful age of 86. And found it difficult to retire.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was really because of health concerns that he stepped back at that point, and retired to his native Cork. He was part of our community in Holy Trinity right up to his passing, but continued to keep an eye on the day centre from afar. Continued to very much be part of the prayer force behind the work of the centre. That's how he saw his last years, working right up to the last days in the ministry of prayer for the centre and for those many people he had encountered along the way. I mean, we don't really speak of retirement in religious life, so I suppose really the job's just changed slightly, but that was the work that he did, and he also helped out in the community in Holy Trinity there in Cork City. Certainly a well-deserved stepping back after all of those years of hard work.
Yeah, amazing what he has done there. We're also joined by Father John Joe Duffy. Good morning to you, Father.
Good morning, Michaela.
You knew Brother Kevin Crowley quite well.
Yeah, I think the first thing Brother Kevin would say to you this morning, he would be asking about the welfare of the people involved in the accident, and his heart and his prayers would be very much with them, because he kept a great interest in all things Donegal, and particularly in people who were suffering. So our thoughts and prayers are with those involved in the accident this morning.
Absolutely.
And we think of the little girl and the families, and very much think of them, and have been praying for them throughout the night. And I offer my sympathies also to Brother Richard and all the Capuchins on the passing of Kevin. Kevin, I would have got to know in Ards when he was here as the guardian, I think around 2004 to 2011, and he always had that great welcome. There is a statue out the front of St. Francis Assisi, which himself and Father Paddy Dunn got in Rome, and it has arms outstretched, and that was Brother Kevin, and that is very much the charism of the Capuchins. Brother Kevin was somebody whose arms were outstretched in welcome, and a man of prayer, a man of deep prayer, a man of God, a man who got up to pray in the morning, I think around 4:30, and he would be the first in the Capuchin Day Centre, putting on the kettles and the boilers and so on, waiting for the people to come in that he was feeding and helping. He is so fondly remembered here in Creasla and all over Donegal, and by people who knew him. And you got that welcome from Kevin, and you got it in Ards, you got it in the Capuchin Day Centre. He didn't ask who you were, where you or why you were here, and he had that love for the poor and treated them with the same dignity as he treated the president, whoever it might be. Everyone was treated equally and in the same way, and but it was his prayer life, his deep prayer life, and he had no fear of death. He said that in an interview with Paddy Dunn for Highland Radio. He was indeed interviewed with Greg, and he had just that love for people, that great love for people, and he was driven by his prayer life and by his faith, and his sadness was to see so many people homeless and see families being housed in homeless people being housed in hotels, and drug addicts. He was very, very worried about drug addiction, and he had just that pastoral outreach, and he drew people to himself. He had a wonderful aura about him, and he seemed to be able to give time to everyone and anyone who visited him from Donegal or anywhere else in the Capuchin Day Centre. He gave of his time.
Yeah, and that Capuchin Centre now, it's a legacy to all that you have spoken about, the character of him that will now live on for many years to come.
Yeah, it will, of course, and he has left a huge legacy, but the legacy he has left is he has also left a legacy where he has put a difficult question to us: what are we doing for the homeless? And I think that's his legacy, inviting us to look at ourselves, each one of us, and ask, can we do something better for those who are suffering from homelessness and suffering from addictions and drug addictions and so on. And I think that's his legacy. He was just a beautiful light among us, and in the words of St. Teresa of Avila, he was certainly the hands of Christ for others.
And you first met Brother Kevin when he was younger. At that time, did you know there was something special about him? Did he have this thought back then about the homeless people, that he wanted to make a difference in the world?
I was in my 20s, and he seemed an old man when I met him, but he was an older man full of energy and enthusiasm. I think in his welcome in Ards, the welcome that he always had for us as people visiting Ards, from lay people to priests, and he had that way of treating everyone with great dignity, and the way he cared for the staff there, the way he cared for the people of this community, the way he cared for the people of Donegal, and he was challenged with putting a roof on Ards and doing fundraising, and sure, the people of Donegal, Derry, Tyrone and elsewhere, just once he said he was fundraising for a roof, the money kept coming in, and but you could see in him that passion he had for God, and he instilled in you that love for God and that love for Our Lady, and you could see there was something very special about him. He had a lovely smile, and that radiated the beauty of his soul, and a man very much at peace with God, and a man who was always seemed to be always busy, but yet seemed to have time for everyone.
Brother Hendrik, All these tributes are testament to Brother Kevin Crowley, but I'm sure those that he has helped along the way will be thinking deeply of the kindness that he has shown to them as well.
Oh, absolutely. And as Father John Joe said there, you know, there are generations of people who have been touched by his care. But you know, for Kevin, in starting the centre, you know, the presumption had been that this was something that was going to be around for a little while, and that as Ireland sort of improved and became more prosperous, this would be a difficulty or a social ill that would be dealt with and would disappear. And of course, the thing that Kevin always spoke about as his great sadness was that now the day centre is needed more than ever.
Yeah.
And indeed, not just the centre in Church Street, but many centres and many charities up and down the country that are working with the homeless and with immigrants. And so I suppose the challenge that he leaves behind to us, because he was always a man of challenge, is exactly as Father John Joe mentioned. You know, for you, for me, for all of us, especially those of us who espouse the Christian gospel in any particular way, is to say, well, how are we dealing with our brothers and sisters who are in need, and how, as a society, are we going to deal with this particular and very pernicious issue that of homelessness that causes, you know, there's a whole number of other ills that arise from it. So I think, in as much as we're giving thanks for Kevin and we're paying tribute to him, and we can see the enormous effect that he has had, I think really if Kevin was here today or was on this radio program, he would do as he always did, which was to say to us, you know, to all of us, myself included, well, what are you going to do? You know, how are you going to assist the people who are in their needs? And yes, the work of the centre will definitely continue. It's busier than ever. The friars are fully involved in it. We're at a point now where we're giving out, I think it's nearly 800 breakfasts a day, nearly 500, 600 dinners. There are medical clinic services as well for the homeless. We offer chiropody, optometry, dental care. There's a women's clinic.
And how much has that grown, Brother Hendrik, from when it was started? How many people would you have been dealing with?
When it started, Kevin was dealing with, on average, of about 40 or 50 people.
Yeah.
Now we're dealing with thousands, and we see nearly a 10% increase per year over the last 10 years. So yeah, it's a huge problem in the country. We're all aware of it. I mean, everybody sees it, everybody understands it and knows it. And I think we have a choice as to how we deal with it. We can sort of cynically close our eyes and separate ourselves from it, and say, you know, well, it's other people who have to deal with this, whether that be government or agencies or charities or whatever. And yes, there's a certain truth to that. But I think all of us can begin in the way Kevin began, which was to look around us to see the needs that are around us, the needs that people have for connection, for love, for respect, and indeed, as John Joe mentioned there, you know, for prayer. If we can do nothing else, we can certainly pray for people, and that's what Kevin did. His entire life and ministry came out of a context of living the gospel as a son of St. Francis. So his day began and ended with prayer before the Blessed Sacrament every single day. Hours of prayer, in fact, in the morning and in the evenings. You know, the world got to know the working Brother Kevin out in the centre, but all of that work arose from the praying Brother Kevin morning and evening.
And I think that's a nice positive, as you put it there, to take from this sad time, that, you know, maybe we need to wake up ourselves now and need to follow his example and do better for other people.
Indeed, and I think that's, you know, it starts at home. It starts with the person across the breakfast table from you. It starts with the next door neighbour, wherever you may be. It starts right locally, in opening our hearts to others and in recognising, as Brother Kevin did, that we're called to see everyone around us as brother or as sister, and to begin from there. It doesn't mean that we don't recognise, you know, darkness and problems and even evil when it occurs, and that we don't challenge that. We are called to do that. We're called to recognise that, that there are difficulties and problems in people's lives that sometimes have to be challenged directly. But the most important thing is to do that from a place of love. As we say as Capuchins, brother isn't a title, it's a way of being. And that's what we try and aspire to, just as Kevin did.
Yeah. So, Brother Hendrik, what are the details for the funeral of Brother Crowley?
So this evening, Brother Kevin's remains will come from Cork to our mother house here in Church Street in Dublin 7, where he ministered for so long. And that will take place at 5 o'clock here today in the Friary in Church Street. All of the funeral rites and arrangements are open to the public. All are most welcome to attend. Then tomorrow, Brother Kevin's remains will be in our main church here from 8:30 in the morning until 6 p.m. and anyone who wishes to come to say a prayer for the repose of his soul or to pay respects is most welcome to come. Books of condolences will be open for anyone who would like to sign that. So to visit the church and to be part, I suppose, of our great farewell to our brother. At 6 p.m. then tomorrow evening, Friday evening, the friars will celebrate solemn evening prayer, solemn vespers in the presence of Brother Kevin's remains, and everyone again is more than welcome to attend that in the church. And then on Saturday morning at 11 o'clock here in Church Street, we will have the celebration of the Requiem Mass for the repose of the soul of Brother Kevin. That will also be live streamed on the Memorial Lane website, so memoriallane.ie, and the direct link for that will be available through the RIP.ie, the usual RIP website there, where Brother Kevin's funeral notice is placed. But everyone, again, is welcome to attend and to come and to be part of either any of those ceremonies or indeed all of them, should they so wish.
Yeah. Brother Richard Hendrick, Provincial Minister of the Irish Capuchin Franciscans, thank you so much for joining us this morning and for your lovely tribute to Brother Kevin. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us. As always, it's always a great grace and joy to speak to the Donegal people in any way, shape or form. I was there myself in Ards for a number of years, and it holds a very special place in my heart to this day.
Thank you very much. And Father John Joe Duffy, are you aware of any services in the Donegal area for Brother Kevin?
There will be masses. I offered mass yesterday morning for Brother Kevin, and masses will be offered in both Ards and in Creasla over the course of the period, but it won't be until after his funeral in Dublin, so that takes precedence. I would like to thank the people of Donegal and thank Father Eddie Gallagher and the Andersons and Kelly Beggs, who for years have been sending items up to Kevin. They couldn't have done it without the help of the people, and to thank Highland Radio and all the local media who helped in the appeals for the Capuchin Centre, and please God will continue to do so. But Brother Kevin couldn't have done it without the people, and certainly not without God, and he was very clear in that, and without prayer, and he said it takes an effort to pray, but without prayer life he couldn't have done what he did, and he was a man of deep prayer. And I suppose was very sorry that more people weren't praying and had fallen away from faith, and he was driven by his faith, just to mention that this morning. And I would also like to remember Michael and Anne O'Sullivan, the couple who died in Cork, who were frequent visitors to Ards, and remember also Sister Magdalene Moore, whose funeral will take place in Donegal town today. Sister Magdalene was a great people's person like Brother Kevin, and she helped out with cancer services and treatment for cancer cancer survivors in Donegal town, and the setting up of the Solace, and many people were touched by Sister Magdalene and her work in hospitals.
And I suppose we were talking there about Brother Kevin, but as you mentioned Sister Magdalene, it shows the amount of work that people do and without thought to help others. It's sad whenever we come to this stage when someone's passed on, that we then reflect on what work is being done.
We reflect on what work has been done, but thank God their legacies will live on.
Yeah.
Sister Magdalene's in the Solace Centre, Brother Kevin in the Capuchin Centre for the Homeless in Dublin, where many, many people are volunteering. I suppose Brother Kevin's frustrations were that not enough was being done for the homeless and for families, and each Monday morning hundreds upon hundreds of young mothers and mothers of different ages gather at the Capuchin Day Centre, where Brother Kevin was providing baby formula, and they were providing nappies and so on, and clothes for babies and so on, and that will live on, and it is the work of God that Brother Kevin and Sister Magdalene both brought about, and we give thanks to God for them.
Yeah, and seeing the tributes here locally as well, we've seen the President Michael D. Higgins speaking out and paying tribute to Brother Kevin, but seeing those tributes locally, it shows the lasting impact that he will leave here in Donegal as well.
Yeah, he had such support from the people of Donegal, and he had such a love for the people of Donegal, and he kept in contact with people so often, and he would always ask you what was going on locally, and if anything was happening locally, he would be in contact with people and sending them messages when they were sick, and if somebody died, he would be in contact with the families, and he just had a great way of keeping in contact with people, despite the fact that he was a very, very busy man, and he just had that love for people, and he had a very special place in his heart for Ards, which is a wonderful place of welcome and a wonderful place of peace, and we're very blessed to continue to have the Capuchin Friars in Ards, and the work he did there in Ards helped to keep that place going over the years, and we give thanks to God for that as well, and we thank Brother Kevin as well, and pray that he is in the warm embrace of God today.
Father John Joe Duffy, thank you so much for joining us in tribute to Brother Kevin this morning.
Thank you for giving the time. Thank you, Michaela.
And that interview with Father Paddy Dunn with Brother Kevin that was referenced there, you can watch that now on our Facebook hub page, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Clonmany Agricultural Show Monster Draw. €100,000 in prizes. First prize, a Valtra tractor or a Skoda Kodiaq car. Second prize, a Can-Am Outlander 500cc quad or €10,000. Plus 8 other cash prizes. Tickets now available online at clonmanyshow.com or via any committee member.
Make real summer savings at Super Value. Like large pack family meats such as burgers and mince, €5 each. Selected ranges like Coke, Cadbury and Hunky Dory's, 3 for €5. Scan your Real Rewards card or app and get Comfort Fabric Conditioner 80 wash, just €5. And Robinson's Fruit Shoot 8 pack, now €3. Make real summer savings at Super Value. DRS applies.
Túr an tréimar in níos gara, lads.
Bíonn Rob ag tógáil tithe.
Túr an tréimar in níos gara, lads.
Bíonn sé ag sábháil tithe freisin. Tá dúracht ag baint le bheith I do choracóir dóiteán ar áirithaocht. Ach maire torradach go daibre go deo. Fáimach faoi bheith do choracóir dóiteán ar áirithaocht I do phobal féin. Téach ag fireireland.ie. Teachtarach do rialtas na hÉireann.
Friday at the dance. Country Sundays at the Clanry Hotel, Letterkenny. This Sunday there's Michael English and his band dancing from 9 till 11. Admission €20. Doors open from 8 with support artists from 8:15, and there's music afterwards in McGettigan's Bar. Accommodation packages are available. That's Michael English this Sunday at the Clanry Hotel, Letterkenny.
Weanling prices sizzle. In this week's Irish Farmers Journal, find out why exporters are driving weanling prices up by €700 a head. Department ramps up preparations for blue tongue outbreak. State on a land buying spree. Future calf exports at risk. Loss of derogation could cost close to €300 million. A 1,000-acre farm hits the market. Plus your chance to win a Husqvarna mower worth €30,000. All inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Find all your summer essentials from fashion and accessories to beauty and homeware at McElhenny's. Explore more in-store or shop online at mcelhennys.com today.
Today's weather rather cloudy with outbreaks of rain and drizzle. It will brighten up this afternoon with scattered showers, some heavy with the chance of an isolated thunderstorm. Highest temperatures of 15 to 17 degrees. The news with Donald Kavanagh is coming up shortly.
Imagine this, toes in the sand at Old Head Beach, the thrill of zip-lining at Westport Adventure, wandering colourful streets, ice cream in hand, sailing across the calm waters of Clew Bay, the wind in your hair on the Great Western Greenway. Westport. Find your own adventure at destinationwestport.com.
Join me, Marty Free. Listen every Friday night from 8 for Rocket Hits on Highland Radio in association with Arena 7 Letterkenny. Try their new interactive dartboards with lots of games that all the family can play. See arena7.ie.
Summer toys at Tinny's Toys. Everything for an outdoor summer. Swings, slides, trampolines, goalposts, rebounders, sand table, wheelbarrows. Of course, we also have our massive range of kids, pedal and electric toys. Need something for those rainy days? Well, we've that covered too, with the likes of Brooder Toys, Lego, Marvel Toys, books and more. Call into our store on the Leck Road, Letterkenny, or shop online at tinnystoys.com. Tinny's Toys, much more than just farm toys. Dan Boy.
Maple are celebrating 7 amazing years in business, and it's all thanks to you. Join us on Thursday, July 17th for our Customer Appreciation Day at your local Maple store. Whether it's Derrybeg, Milford, Castlefin, Falcarra, Carrygart, Burtonport, Ballyliffin or Moville, you're welcome to join in the celebrations. For every coffee purchased on the day, we'll donate 50 cents to Cancer Care West. It's our way of giving back with your support. See you at your favourite Maple on July 17th. Maple, fresh, convenient, local.
This Friday the 4th on Around the Northwest, we're celebrating the 20th anniversary of Watson Hire in Letterkenny. We'll be broadcasting live from the store where top name manufacturers will be holding demos and offering great discounts. There's also special offers in every department, draws to win some great prizes and even some barbecue food to enjoy. Quite the day of it. That's Around the Northwest live this Friday from the big open day at Watson Hire in Letterkenny.
Who the hell are you? Get ready, Donegal. Highland Radio is throwing a party like no other. It's the Big Highland Summer Bingo Party, hosted with me, Keith Fletcher.
And me, Lee Gooch, Hawaiian shirts, hulas, how the hula are ya? Big laughs and even bigger cash prizes. With €1,000 up for grabs, expect big party tunes, madness and just a little bit of mayhem.
So, Saturday the 2nd of August at Jackson's Hotel, Ballybofey.
You better get your tickets quick on eventbrite.com.
Hey, what? Is it over 18s?
You better mention it's over 18.
Okay. And it's over 18s.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, a minute past 10. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. A young girl's been killed in a crash in North Inishowen. 3 others, including another child, have been seriously injured. Multiple ambulances, fire tenders and a Coast Guard helicopter attended the scene last evening. With more, here's Tina Gates.
The child was a passenger in a car which was in collision with a van on the R240 at Carrowmore, Carndana, shortly before 6:30 yesterday evening. A woman driving the car, a man who was a front seat passenger and a child who was a rear passenger were all taken from the scene to Altanagalvin Hospital in Derry, where they all remain in serious condition. The road is currently closed for a technical examination by forensic collision investigators and local diversions are in place.
Well, a short time ago on the 9 till noon show, Roads Inspector Sean McDade made this appeal for information.
We would appeal to any members of the public that would have camera footage, possibly dash cam, that were travelling in the area between Quigley's Point and Clondona between 6 p.m. and 6:30 p.m. to make that footage available to Garda Síochána. Anything that people have, even if they think it's really insignificant, might be really important to the investigation.
The Dáil has been told that every element of the operation of nursing homes is profit-driven and in many ways HICWA is ineffective because it cannot ensure best practice is being followed. Deputy Charles Ward was speaking on a Labour Party motion on the future of nursing home provision and outlined his own experiences as a healthcare worker. He said every aspect of a nursing home is profit-driven, and Deputy Ward told TDs that HICWA inspections don't include many areas where residents are frequently cared for.
When you're in a care environment, and I'll give you an example. You're walking with a resident and you're taking that resident to bed, and HICWA are in the hallway watching every aspect of what you do, which is their job. You close that door. HICWA aren't allowed into that room. They can only observe you in the public doorways, frameways, HICWA cannot go into the room and watch you put a resident to bed. This is wrong. We don't know if best practices are being taught.
Two men are due before Strabane Magistrates Court shortly in connection with drugs-related offences. The men were detained following a planned search operation in the Strabane area yesterday, during which over £1 million worth of suspected cannabis was found. With more, here's Alex Rowley.
As part of a planned search operation in the Strabane area yesterday, suspected cannabis plants with an estimated street value of £1.4 million was seized, with searches still ongoing. Paraphernalia connected to drugs cultivation and supply has also been seized. The operation was led by detectives from Organised Crime Branch who are investigating suspected drugs criminality linked to the INLA. They were backed by PSNI members from across Derry City and Strabane, alongside tactical support group officers and police dog handlers. A senior officer involved in the investigation says they've dismantled a large and sophisticated operation with row after row of suspected cannabis plants that filled 2 floors of the building that was searched.
Liverpool Football Club forward Diogo Jota has reportedly died in a car crash in Spain at the age of 28, just 2 weeks after getting married. The Portugal international, who had 3 young children, was travelling in the car with his brother in the northwest province of Zamora. Jota, who also played for Wolves, won every domestic honour during his time at Anfield. Passengers are being warned of some disruption on flights at Dublin Airport because of a strike in France. 16 flights have been cancelled so far. With the details, here's Stephanie Rowan.
The DAA says as of 9 a.m, 8 flights departing and 8 flights arriving into Dublin Airport have been cancelled because of this industrial action by French air traffic controllers. The flights affected are between Dublin and Paris, Biarritz, Nice and also Murcia in Spain. Passengers who are due to fly to or over mainland Europe are being advised to contact their airline to check the status of their flight. The strikes are set for today and tomorrow, with the DAA saying it's impacting on many families' hard-earned summer holidays. While Ryanair boss Michael O'Leary said people are once again being held to ransom by French air traffic controllers and the EU must take action.
Rather cloudy today with outbreaks of rain and drizzle, brightening up in places this afternoon with scattered showers, some heavy with a chance of an isolated thunderstorm. Top temperatures today 15 to 17 degrees Celsius. And that's Highland Radio News. Check all today's news on our website, highlandradio.com. We're back with headlines at 11 o'clock, but for now from the news team, good morning. The obituary notices for this Thursday morning, the 3rd of July. The death has taken place of Des McGinley, Main Street, Milford, reposing at his home from 5 p.m. until 10 p.m. today and again tomorrow from 12 noon until 10 p.m. Requiem Mass on Saturday morning at 10 in St Peter's Church, Milford, followed by burial in Milford Cemetery. The Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the St Vincent de Paul Society, care of any family member. The death has taken place of Lily O'Sullivan, 61, Ballina Falcara, formerly of County Derry. Reposing at her late residence. Family time, please, from after the Rosary at 9 o'clock tonight. Funeral Mass tomorrow at 12 noon in Chockfabel Neofinon, Falcara, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to Falcara Community Hospital, care of any family member or Carton Funeral Directors. The Requiem Mass can be viewed on mcn.live. The death has taken place of John Devlin, Maharanture, Buncrana. Remains reposing at his residence until 10 o'clock this evening and again tomorrow from 10 a.m. until 10 p.m. Funeral from there on Saturday morning at 9:15, going to St Mary's Oratory, Buncrana for 10 o'clock Requiem Mass with burial afterwards in Cockhill Cemetery. The death has taken place of Patrick G. Patsy O'Callaghan, Coola Drummond, Drumcliff, County Sligo, formerly of Castle Finn, Donegal. Reposing at his home in Sligo tomorrow from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Removal on Saturday morning to St Columkills Church, Rathcormac, for Requiem Mass at 11:30. Burial afterwards in Rathcormac Cemetery. The Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. The death has taken place of Peter Frederick Fred Moore, formerly of Tullymurray Fold, Port Stewart and Eglinton. Remains reposing at W.J. O'Brien and Sons Funeral Home, 110 Cluny Road, Eglinton, today from 12:30 until 2 and again from 7 until 8:30. Funeral service will take place there tomorrow at 1 o'clock, followed by interment in Altnagovan Cemetery. Family flowers only, please. The death has taken place of Nellie Cullen, Glasgow and Devlin Rea, aged 100 years. Her remains are reposing at her daughter Mary Ellen's home in Devlin Rea. Funeral from there tomorrow, going to the Church of St John the Baptist, Carrigart for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. The death has taken place in her 102nd year of Ellen Friel, Ballure, Fanad. Ellen's remains are reposing at her late residence. Requiem Mass tomorrow morning at 11 in St Mary's, Fanavolti, Fanad, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only please, donations in lieu if desired to the Residents Comfort Fund, Orlesey Donal Nursing Home, care of any family member or Eamon Scott Funeral Directors. The death has occurred of Catherine McGinley, née Gillespie, for her Glencullen at the age of 99, reposing at her late residence today from 2 o'clock until Rosary at 9. Funeral Mass tomorrow at 11 in St Columbus Church, Cashel, Glencullen, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The funeral Mass will be streamed on mcn.live. Family time please before the funeral tomorrow. The death has taken place of Sister Benedict Culligan in her 101st year at St Joseph's Convent of Mercy, Newton Kennedy Street, Strabane, formerly of Kilrush, County Clare. Reposing at St Joseph's Convent of Mercy. Funeral from there this afternoon at 3:30 for Requiem Mass in the Church of the Immaculate Conception, Strabane at 4 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the convent cemetery. The Requiem Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. The death has taken place of Rosaline Gormley, née McKay, 191 Lisnara Road, Dunnamana, formerly of Station Road, Artagarvan. Funeral from there this morning at 10:25 for Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Ahabrack at 11 o'clock, followed by interment in St Joseph's Cemetery, Craigban. Donations in lieu of flowers please to Chest, Heart and Stroke, care of Quigley Funeral Directors. The Requiem Mass can be viewed via the parish webcam. And the death has taken place of John Barron, 5 Ranmore Walk, Letterkenny, formerly of Lenamore, Muff, reposing at his late residence from 12 noon to 10 p.m. today. Rosary at 9. Funeral tomorrow at 11 in the Church of the Irish Martyrs, Letterkenny, with private cremation to follow. The funeral Mass can be viewed at irishmartyrs.com. Family time please before the funeral tomorrow. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of Con MacDade, Funeral Director. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Hey there, looking for car insurance that's simple, fast and comes with a little extra? That's RedClick. You can save an average of €245 when you quote online. Insurance that's easy, insurance that's quick. Whenever you need us, you just need to click. Visit redclick.ie. Discount based on new private car policies from 1st November 24 to 1st February 25. Max discount €300. Apply before optional covers. Subject to minimum premium. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. Generali Seguros y Reyes Seguros SAU, trading as RedClick and Generali, is authorised by the General Dictators of Insurance and Pension Funds in Spain and is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland for conduct of business rules.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Welcome back to the 9 till Noon Show. It's Michaela Clark in today for Greg Hughes. Some of your comments that have been coming in relate to organ donation that we discussed briefly in the first hour of this show. A listener says people choose to opt out of the organ harvesting scheme because of the way it was introduced. Our bodies are the only thing we actually own, and to think that the HSE believe they have the right to use you for spare parts is barbaric. As I pointed out before, this opt-out policy is dangerous and a sneaky way of doing business. People no longer have faith in the government or authorities, and this type of behaviour doesn't help. Another says nobody trusts the state not to outsource our organs like everything else. To opt out means giving so much information. Hackers could open a bank account, and the HSE has been hacked before. Another says regarding organ donation, I worked at a hospital in England that performed a kidney transplant. Seeing the look of hope and in people who are waiting a new kidney made me realise the absolute life-changing event that an organ donation makes to families, and I think this change in the law is for the better, and I hope that the majority of people are on board with it. Everybody has their own opinion on this, but I do think if you were in that situation, you or a loved one were needing an organ and to just be given that chance of life again is, I think it's the greatest gift somebody can give someone. A listener has been in touch. There's an oil spill on the junction at Kilross. Please drive with care is the message. Revolut users, beware of a scam. I got a phone call from Revolut last night saying my card had 2 payments that needed attention. He went on to say he didn't need any numbers from me. He knew my Revolut last 4 digits, my name and address. I thought for sure it was legit. He went on to say in order to cancel the direct debit, my account was set up by a third party. In order to stop it, he was to send me a code and to go into my Revolut account, and that's when I copped on. I called him a scammer. He got abusive and called my husband names. I stopped the call right away. It's a warning, as I never thought I would even speak to someone like that. There's just so many scams doing the rounds now. I keep getting these text messages and saying they're from, it's always the same, saying they're from whatever business. And it turns out it comes in from an email address, but it's a text message. And they appear so legit. Only then, whenever I go on the website then to kind of figure out if it is legit or not, you realise, you know, there's so many threads and discussing that it is a scam. Morning, Michaela. Can you give a big shout out to Mark and all those involved in the Blues and Roots Festival this weekend in Letterkenny? It starts tonight at 8 p.m. in the Radisson and has over 70 free live music gigs all around Letterkenny tonight, Friday, Saturday and Sunday. A brilliant annual event that needs a wee plug. That comes in from Stevie. So good luck to you all with that festival. I'm sure it will be a great weekend and hopefully it dries up a bit for you. We'll be back now in a short few minutes after the bingo numbers.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Thursday the 3rd of July, Jackpot Day. You're playing for the jackpot prize of €7,400 on the pink sheet. The reference number is at 14. It's game number 27. The jackpot number is 26. This number can come out in any position from the next 10 numbers drawn. And now, here are your daily numbers. 87, 27, 88, 66, 45, 16, 61, 32, 39, and finally 77. Phone your claim to 9104833 before midnight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Crawley Distillery Visitors Experience is celebrating its 3rd birthday on Friday the 4th of July and you're invited. Join the crack at 3 p.m. for a special toast and your chance to win a bottle your own experience. Plus, enjoy 50% off tours on the day only with code 3years online at thecrawleydistillery.com. Enjoy entertainment, special offers and a warm falcha for all. Crawley Distillery. Experience the spirit of Donegal.
Print Supplies and Frosses delivers managed print solutions that save you time and money. With remote servicing and local support, we take the hassle out of printers and photocopiers. Stay efficient, stay supplied. Email sales@printsupplies.ie today. Print smart, save money, trust local.
If you know the beauty and skincare product that suits you best, you'll find them at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. From moisturisers, cleansers and toners to day creams and night creams, McGee's have the top brands you know and love, like Lancôme, Clarins and La Roche-Posay. Also Elizabeth Arden, Vichy, Nukes and many more. All at McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny and online at mcgees.ie, where the best costs less.
Eamon Gillespie presents Concert with the Greats on Sunday, July 13th at 3:30 p.m. in Brooklands, starring Alton, Brian Kennedy, Mike Denver, Brendan Shine and the Showband Show. Tickets are limited. Call 085 8819 now.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Now, Donegal Deputy Charles Ward has been speaking about his experience as a healthcare worker in a dementia unit. He joins me now on the line. Good morning to you, Deputy.
Good morning, Michaela. I'd just like to say good morning to all the listeners, and I just want to convey my condolences to the family involved in last night's tragic accident, and particularly the young girl who lost her life. It's another tragic day a dark day for Inishowen, and hearing the news late last night, it was just devastating. Being a father myself is my worst nightmare. Was hearing that last night.
Yeah, they're very much in everyone's thoughts and prayers today, and I'm sure they will be over the coming days as well. So,
yes, yeah, definitely.
Deputy Ward, you spoke in the Dáil yesterday, and you made it very clear that you believe that every aspect of nursing homes is now profit driven.
Every aspect of nursing homes is profit driven within reason. There are homes in Donegal that are private, that are run to a very good standard, but there are homes in Donegal that are profit driven, and the care is there, but the standard of care and the quality of care has to come into question. And I questioned yesterday in the Dáil that HICWA have a responsibility in this too. HICWA are reactive, not proactive.
And what did you experience? What stood out for you to form this opinion during your work?
Well, I've worked in nursing homes, and I would say that during my time working in the nursing homes, the majority of people working in these nursing homes are really top quality professionals. But like everything, there's an element that comes in to work in, and it's a challenging environment that they would not have what I would regard as the quality and the skill level needed.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens then is that then becomes reflective in the care, which is unacceptable in any form whatsoever. And as a member of Dáil Éireann, who actually has worked on the floor of a nursing home, who knows how it works, and I can look at the health minister as I did yesterday and say it to her, it's just not good enough.
So do you believe, Deputy Ward, that it stems back to the training that people are being given at the minute?
As I stated before, when I trained at the ETB Centre in Higher Education Centre in Spinal. My tutor, a lady called Elspeth Vaughan, trained us all to a very high standard, to such a point that when we were sent out in our work placements, straight away the HSE would be coming to try and get us into work. But I went a different route. I went to the private sector, and I loved my job. I loved the people I worked with. I had a great team behind me, but it's extremely challenging. Extremely challenging.
And is it challenging in the sense that directives are being issued that you don't agree with all the time? You know, you did reference, you know, the food that's being served, and people are, you know, effectively being forced to use the same deodorant. Like you talked about how everyone's smelling the same, and that takes away from residents and takes away from their personalities.
Yeah, well, it's like this, right? If you're in a nursing home, you have a budget for toiletries, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're that company, you go and you are buying the same toiletries. So you'll buy a woman's deodorant, you'll buy the same shampoos, shower gels. There's no individual shampoos, you know, unless the families would have brought them in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, this is just particularly the unit where I worked. Now, dealing with this, you're talking little things too, like disposable razors, for instance, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, where it works for some people, it doesn't work with others. So for some men, they would be shaving with a disposable razor, and it wouldn't be a particularly good quality. Now, if you can go and you can get a better quality one for a few pound more, a few euro more, you know, you can tell that this isn't thought about. There is no thought. Attention to detail is missing. And the fact is, you're dealing with human beings who deserve dignity and respect. And I know that there is nursing homes out there that are definitely a cut above the rest. But what I'm saying to you is, profit-driven nursing homes that put the priority on profit before people, it's no good, and it's unacceptable, and I will be calling it out.
And in terms of financing these HSE run nursing homes that we're talking about at the minute, is there a serious shortfall in funding? Like, how does that work in terms of the care provision?
So right now, as we speak, the HSE, there's a massive shortfall. So long term, for us to provide care, there has to be a plan, a model plan. And where we currently are now at the moment is the private nursing homes will take the overflow of people who HSE homes or who are in HSE homes who would not qualify for a private nursing home. So basically what you're dealing with here is you're dealing with people who are in homes. I'll give you an example. So if you're in a nursing home, a private nursing home, you're paying a certain fee, or the state is paying a certain fee, and that's up to €1,300 a week. Okay? So if you're dealing with this long term, what I'm saying to you is the state need to look at coming in and stop profiteering and start looking at homes that are not performing and taking them over. This is the way out of this. And where we then have a proper standard of care, a level of care that is, for example, if you're trained to do a VTech level 5 healthcare assistant, okay, and you go and you do this on a laptop over a period of weeks, and you get your qualifications, and then you go out and you go in and you get your work experience, and then you go onto the floor, okay? But the difference is when I done it through the ETB, I was taught detail upon detail, every aspect of it, and that is missing.
And I think that's quite frightening for the families of residents.
Well, you see, you have people and you have managers who are good quality. I've worked with very good quality managers in my time. And a good quality manager will see, but also supervisors. And the issue is that, for instance, if you have a good quality team, they will see where there is faults and they will try and improve it. But you're dealing with high pressure situations here where there's staff shortages all the time because these companies are profiteering and they're paying staff under what the HSE pay. So you have a revolving door system where people come in, they get the experience, then they go, they move on. It's not good enough. We have to improve things. We have to improve these workers' pay. We have to show them the respect. They're doing a tremendously difficult job.
And what do you see HICWA's role being in this?
Well, HICWA, for example, HICWA will come in, and I'll just give you for an example, when I was working, they came in and building, I was working in a circular building where people could walk around, and there were certain sections you had to make sure there were sections off because you didn't want people becoming, they would be vulnerable to falls. So what HICWA will come in, inspect, they'll make a recommendation that we would have to enforce. And we would put that into place where the managers and the people on the floor could see the faults, could see where this would not work. But when the recommendation comes in, you follow that recommendation.
Okay.
And then you see the result. The result would be falls would increase, transfers to hospitals would increase through injuries, which is not good enough. What I'm saying is you have to look and talk to the people on the floor.
Yeah, it's not a one-size-fits-all for all nursing homes.
Yeah, definitely not. Definitely not. I'd just like to say that too. We have some really, really good quality nursing homes, and we've got some fantastic people working. But it's like everything else. There will be homes that are lacking, and they're lacking in staff numbers. They're under tremendous pressure. But that's why we need to make sure that everything, the level of training, is correct. It's very important.
And unfortunately in Donegal, we have, issues, as you outlined there, relating to nursing homes. But there's also that defective block issue that, filters through all spheres and it filters down into nursing homes as well.
Yeah, it's into nursing homes. When we go up to Mountain Top, there's a nursing home in Mountain Top where you go into one of the estates where every house is affected and the nursing home is affected. And so you've got the double whammy where you've had people transferred into nursing homes whose homes or maybe family members have been looking after them. The home's that defective. There's mold, there's cracks. You're trying to maintain a certain level of cleanliness in a house that just is riddled with mold. You're having to transfer them into some other facilities, and these facilities do have these issues, but maybe not to the extent of a home. So it's never ending. As I said yesterday, the tentacles of the defective concrete scheme is everywhere. It affects nursing homes and community centres. You name it, it's there.
And the reality is that, we don't have another nursing home. If a nursing home had to be remediated, we don't have the facilities to move the residents and house them in an alternative facility while works are being carried out. So there has to be a way. Firstly, there needs to be a scheme, but there has to be a way found around that as well.
This is what the problem we have going forward. We have these issues going forward with every aspect of the defective concrete crisis. So you have council houses, for example, and nursing homes. So let's say you take council houses and you have 50 council houses that are needing remediation, right? Remediation means you cannot just go and patch them up. You have to do it properly. You have to knock them down and rebuild them. And you have to move the people that are in them out. Repacking a house or trying to fix it up, it's a complete waste of taxpayers' money. It's economically unviable. So, for instance, let's say you had a house, 10 council houses that were all cracked, and they go, oh, well, we're going to do repairs to give us a bit of time. It's a complete waste of money. You have to do this properly, start thinking ahead and planning for the future. And we have to plan ahead because we've got an absolute tsunami of houses coming on to the scheme shortly that will not be able to be remediated. They have to go full demolition, or we'll be keeping on visiting this crisis time and time and time again. So this is as I say, when it comes to nursing homes and defective concrete, it's just one of many cases where we have it's constant. It's community centres, nursing homes, social homes, social housing, and then there's a private sector where people have got thousands of homes waiting to. It's a crazy situation we find ourselves in.
And you now being in the Dáil, do you see any glimmer of hope? Do you see any changes at all coming down the line?
We're making progress. We are making progress, but it's a slow burner. Everybody is waiting currently on the scheme for the 10% retrospective payment. I think it's imperative to get us through this scheme that we have the 10% retrospective payment to give people that breathing space, that time to try and move on and rebuild their lives. But the review of IS 465 is essential to on this. If we don't get the review of IS 465 right, then we're back to square one. And that is the most significant thing to happen in the next few months will be this review of IS 465.
Well, the work continues for you, Deputy Charles Ward of the 100% Redress Party. Thank you so much for joining me and giving me the insight and our listeners into your work in nursing homes over the year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye.
And we'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
From Thursday the 17th until Sunday the 20th of July, all roads lead to Monaghan Town for the return of the highly anticipated 4-night open-air country music festival featuring Ireland's top acts, the Tumblin' Paddies on Thursday, Jimmy Buckley on Friday, Mike Denver on Saturday, and Michael English on Sunday, with some of the best support acts, plus the jiving competition. Tickets are available from the West Iron Arms Hotel in Monaghan. For more information, check out Monaghan Country Music Festival website or our Facebook page.
Since I switched to Hidden Hearing, I can hear it all.
You could save up to €3,000 off invisible hearing aids. Save when you switch to us, upgrade, or save on your very first hearing aids. Pre-phone 1-800-370-000. Switch and save at hiddenhearing.ie. You should go to the hearing experts. T's and C's apply.
Pedio thread lifts and skin boosters, which rejuvenate the skin by improving facial contours, lifting and tightening the jowls, neck, cheeks and eyebrows, are available at Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic, Gweedore. To choose the right aesthetic treatment for you, contact Mary Ferry, your aesthetic practitioner. Also offering fat dissolving treatments, dermal fillers and laser treatments for all skin conditions. Hair and makeup packages also available. Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic, Gweedore. 07495 32575.
We love better value at Dunnes Stores. Choose from a great range of large bottles of beer, like Heineken 650ml, Peroni 660ml and Kronenberg 600ml. Just €3. And mix and match 3 for €5 and a fantastic selection of treats and drinks, like Tato Occasions and Coke Zero 2 litre. Dunnes Stores. Always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Prices subject to deposit return scheme fees. Please drink sensibly.
A huge stock clearance marquee sale is now on at McGinley's Furniture in Letterkenny, clearing over €1 million of top quality furniture. Sofas, beds, mattresses, dining sets, occasional furniture and more, all heavily discounted in store and even further reduced in the clearance marquee with up to 70% off. It's from 10 until 6 daily until this Saturday only, and it's first come first served, so don't miss out at McGinley's Furniture, Portlink Business Park, Letterkenny. Watson Hire will celebrate their 20th anniversary with a day of great offers and giveaways on Friday the 4th of July. Big name suppliers will hold live demos and offer big discounts on the day. Also spot prizes and a live draw, Highland Radio Live, barbecue food and much more. It's a day of celebration with customers old and new invited on Friday the 4th of July at Watson Hire, Lisnanen and Letterkenny.
I'm joined now on the 9 till noon show by Councillor Jimmy Kavanagh. Good morning to you, Councillor Kavanagh.
Good morning, Michaela. How are you?
I'm good.
Can I say first, Michaela, just listening to earlier and that awful tragedy in Inishowen, that just it's awful news, and my heart goes out to everyone involved there and to all the people of Inishowen, actually, because I'm sure the whole area is in shock this morning.
Yeah, we're thinking of them all. Yeah, very, very, very sad day for Inishowen and the county indeed. So, Councillor Kavanagh, you had a recent experience which you say, in your own words, helped you discover that there are still good people, and it all started with the lost iPhone on Saturday.
Yeah, Michaela, I was at the games in Croke Park on Saturday, and at some stage I managed to lose my phone. I didn't notice that it was missing until the final whistle. When I was leaving my seat, I realised I hadn't got my phone. So, you know, I searched in the immediate sort of vicinity of my seat, first of all, and it wasn't there. So at that stage, I'd pretty much give up hope because, you know, I thought I must have lost it when I was out getting tea between games. And so I'd pretty much given up on it. But Councillor Michael McBride was actually sitting further down the stand from me, and he was walking up past me, leaving the stadium, himself and Rachel, and Michael then tried to ring the phone, but there was no reply. But Michael was getting a bus home, and on the bus home, he kept ringing the phone, and a lady answered it. So from that, then we got her name and address and so on, and so I couldn't believe that had happened, that somebody had actually answered it. But it turned out she was out in Tala, and that's where the second part of it comes in, because there was a man there called Jimmy from Dublin, a staunch Dublin GAA man, who, after a bitter disappointment for Dublin that day, but
he was still willing to help.
Yeah, exactly, and he stepped in then and ordered an Uber for me to get me out there, and he did that, and he paid for it out of his own account. And you know, I think it was about €60-something, and I had €50 in my pocket, which he given, you know, but he wasn't even worried about that. He just wanted to help. So anyway, we got the taxi out, and I got reunited. We met Antoinette was her name, and she was lovely, and she had found the phone in the stadium, and she had taken it with her because she intended
finding the owner, you know, and she didn't want to pass that responsibility on to somebody else, so she knew someone would ring it, so she took it home with her. So, she was there waiting for me with the phone, and she was actually going on a night out.
Right.
And she was keeping the taxi waiting while she waited for me to get there, you know, and she was just so good. And again, you know, at that stage I got to a bank and I wanted to give her some money just to thank her.
Yeah.
And she was not having none of it, and I shoved some money into her bag. She had her bag on her arm, and she came back to the taxi and put it back in the taxi door, you know, and it's just people incredibly good. And,
yeah, so kind.
You know, so kind, and it's you know, losing the phone nowadays is just, you know, you're
It's
losing
like you
so much
losing
more,
your right arm, you'd be lost without it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you'd be lost without it. And you know, I had the tickets for the next day's matches on it. I was staying for the weekend and going to 2 matches on Sunday as well. So the tickets for that, and then you've, you know, your bank cards and wallet and all this, and you're just afraid of where it is and what's going to happen next, you know. And so it's just a great relief to get it back. So it was amazing, but it's just as I said, we hear so much bad news all the time, and we hear so much bad news about this happened in Dublin, that happened in Dublin, but there's so many decent people around, and those 2 people were just exceptionally good to me on Saturday, and I really appreciate it. And I wrote to the papers to say that, and I was contacted last night by one of them, Jimmy, on WhatsApp, so we
very
might
good.
meet up again.
Yeah.
So
but it's amazing, you know, you fear the worst
soon.
once you lose your phone or, you know, your purse or whatever. But to encounter then 2 people that are willing to help you is just, it's remarkable sometimes in this day and age.
Yeah, it is, and you don't expect it. And if you lose something in that sort of crowd, you know, whatever, there are 60,000 people or whatever were at those games, you really don't have much hope of ever finding it again, you know. So it was really incredible. But the 2 people that were involved, I couldn't have got 2 better, you know. So
yeah,
I was just so lucky.
And it just shows you as well. You talked about technology there. You know, it's come such a long way for the better, I believe, but we do depend on it so much. And you know, we only have to look back to recent months, that major power blackout in Portugal as well, where everything was just ground to a halt. You know, everything does depend on technology now.
We are totally dependent on things, and the phone, you know, in particular, has become such a part of our lives. I mean, I was just looking at my own phone when I got it back, and there's over 4,000 contacts on it.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I know they're probably backed up in that somewhere, or most of them at least, but that just shows you the sort of power that it has now, and it's you know, it's a walking office, really, your phone.
Yeah.
So when you lose a phone, it's not just about making phone calls anymore.
I know, and I sometimes feel behind in that because I'm very old school. I like writing things down and printing things off. I know it's not great for the environment, but I just, you know, that's what it is, like a walking office. Your calendar's on there, you know, notes, you can record your notes on there, everything.
Yeah, that's right, and we all do. You know, like yourself, Michaela, it will be maybe slower to do all the things that it can do, but over time you end up using the calendar and using notes and you know, doing all those things, and eventually you end up that you're not writing stuff down anymore, and you're leaving it all to the phone. So it's a bit of a nightmare if you lose one. But again, just, you know, those people were just so good and so helpful and so out of the way, going so much out of the way. And you know, I wonder myself if Donegal were after getting beat by 6 points and somebody from Dublin was telling me they lost the phone. You know, I hope that it would be kind, but you know. But it was great. It was just
but yeah, no, it's a lovely story, and no doubt when you're heading to the next match, you'll be taking care of the phone, Jimmy.
I will, Kelly. I'll be giving it more attention now, but I still hope though that I have plenty of jumping up and down to do before the year's out with Donegal. So,
hopefully.
Yeah. So that's it. Michaela, thanks for calling.
No, thank you. That is Councillor Jimmy Kavanagh there, and what a lovely positive story, and just shows you there's such good out there in the world. Some of your comments still coming in. Our hearts are broken in Inishowen. Please take care on the roads. May the little angel rest in peace. Yeah, it was so sad waking up this morning and just hearing of another crash in Donegal, and then obviously the details emerged and it was a child, and obviously other family members are in a serious condition, so we do think about them and we keep them in our thoughts and prayers. I don't understand the talk about organ donation, as nothing has really changed, just another rule that means nothing. The only real change is if you opt out, your next of kin won't be asked about organ donation. Hi Michaela, Donegal is the worst performing council for building housing in Ireland. Why is the media not calling out for the county manager to at least explain this total failure and the poor performance of elected councillors? We did have that discussion earlier in the week with Councillor Jerry McMonigal, and he was reacting to those figures. Another listener says, similar to the Revolut scam call, I got a call from Dublin on a 01 number. It was Electric Ireland thanking me for my call, even though I never called them at all. I hung up straight away. Where were the trolleys on the day Fine Gael Health Minister Carl McNeill visited? I know people who went to Letterkenny University Hospital, waited for over 10 hours, no seating available, and left and haven't returned. A listener says, very witty, Jimmy's winning matches and Jimmy's finding phones. That's a great one. I think Councillor Kavanagh should put that on his Facebook and maybe run with that now until the end of the All-Ireland season. Michaela, he was a lucky man. My niece lost her phone in a pub in the town the rally weekend and never got it back. That comes in for Josephine. Yeah, very lucky indeed. And hopefully the phone does turn up. You never know. Somebody could have handed it in and they're just waiting for someone to reach out to say they lost a phone. A listener says, Mark Murphy from the Irish Heart Foundation chatted about France and their laws regarding clean air. In the 1970s, France introduced nuclear power. We have turf cutting, gas and oil being imported here in Ireland to heat the place. We need to look at France's electricity production and carbon footprint. France are generating 40 gigawatts of electricity and 40 grams of carbon emissions. The Irish are generating 2.5 gigawatts for 514 grams of carbon dioxide. All this information can be found on the electricity maps of Europe. We're going to take another short break and we'll be back in a couple of minutes.
T-Shirt Express has moved. You'll now find us beside C&M Embroidery, Lismonaghan, Letterkenny. We're still your go-to spot for custom t-shirts, workwear, gifts and balloons. Just in a fresh new location. You can still reach us on the same number, 086 343 3504. T-Shirt Express, now beside C&M Embroidery, Lismonaghan, Letterkenny.
Leisureland Redcastle, open every day all summer long. Perfect for family day trips. Offers excellent value for birthday party packages. For a memorable family experience this summer, visit Leisureland Redcastle. See leisurelandredcastle.ie for more details.
Weanling prices sizzle. In this week's Irish Farmers Journal, find out why exporters are driving weanling prices up by €700 a head. Department ramps up preparations for blue tongue outbreak. State on a land buying spree. Future calf exports at risk. Loss of derogation could cost close to €300 million. A 1,000-acre farm hits the market. Plus your chance to win a Husqvarna mower worth €30,000. All inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal.
Irish raspberry season is here. Let the fun begin. Pick up a punnet of Keeling's Irish raspberries in store today. Juicy, delicious, feel-good fruit. Fresh from our farm. Love that Keeling's feeling.
Last month I joined my walking group's WhatsApp chat and accidentally sent them a picture of Herbert, my hamster, twice. But now, thanks to high digital drop-in Fridays at my local Vodafone store, I'm video calling, sharing recipes and even ordering prescriptions online. And now when I send pictures of Herbert, it's always on purpose. Visit highdigital.ie or drop into your nearest participating Vodafone store Fridays between 10 and 1 for free practical advice on using your phone. Vodafone. Together we can.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Find all your summer essentials from fashion and accessories to beauty and homeware at McElhenny's. Explore more in-store or shop online at mcelhennys.com today.
Weather today rather cloudy with outbreaks of rain and drizzle. It will brighten up this afternoon with scattered showers, some heavy with the chance of an isolated thunderstorm, and highest temperatures of 15 to 17 degrees. Now, the Crawley Distillery, nestled in the heart of the Gaeltacht in West Donegal, celebrates 3 years since it first opened its doors this coming Friday. I'm joined by Catherine Nick-Grena, Visitors Experience Manager at the Crawley Distillery. Good morning to you, Catherine.
Good morning, Michaela. Thank you.
So, very exciting time for yourselves. We'll start back. Where did the idea for the distillery come from?
Yeah, so basically it's three gentlemen there from the Letterkenny area, Joe, Connor and Kieran, and they're also neighbours, and they're very much interested in the making of whiskey. So they actually used to do whiskey tastings in their homes, and they decided, because there were three businessmen, that they would love to open their own distillery in the heart of Donegal. So they went in search and they looked at a few premises, and they actually found this beautiful building here in Crawley, and they decided that they would open the Crawley Whisky Distillery then. So they started with renovations and that. Sorry?
It's such an undertaking. Where do you even start?
I don't think they even realised that themselves at the time, but it's a massive undertaking to open up a whisky distillery.
And even bringing that building back into use, it's a gorgeous stone building. It's lovely to see, I'm sure for the local people.
It's absolutely stunning building, like inside, outside and inside. And it dates back to 1901, actually, Michaela. It was a carpet factory, the very famous Donegal carpets. And it has a long life, this building here. And also after that, it was actually an RIC barracks in 1916. And then we had the very famous Crawley Dolls factory after that as well. So it has a lovely bit of history to it, and the building itself has been restored, and it shows very much of the original building itself, outside and inside. So we have a lovely story to tell here in Crawley. So basically, we make premium whiskey here, but we also have a lovely historic story to tell.
Yeah, and you're creating your own history now into the future, creating this distillery. What can people expect when they visit yourselves? Are they walked through the process of distilling the whiskey?
Yeah, so basically the tours here are based on the history of the building itself and how we make the whiskey here. So it's an hour-long experience. So it's, a lot of distilleries you can go into, it's very much into the process, but we've actually split that up, and it's very nice. So, and we have a 10-minute AV video which shows you a wee bit of the history of, how whiskey came, Irish whiskey came to Ireland as well. And that is also all in the Gaelic language, we are in the Gaeltacht here. So our AV video is in the Gaelic language, but it has English subtitles. And actually, we get visitors from all over the world, and they just love that fact that it's in the Gaelic language, that we're actually, showing it there. And they get to see all the lovely scenery and the work that went into building, making the distillery from scratch as well.
And in terms of visitor numbers, I'm sure that's growing over the years, but do you get a lot of local tourists, or is it international visitors?
Well, we get a lot of international visitors, especially this time of the year. Last year we had over 10,000 visitors into our distillery in total, and we're actually hoping this year we'll have even more. We have a lot of local people and people that are maybe, that work away and come home for the summertime as well, that would come into us. Now, you don't always have to do the tour when you come into the distillery either. If you've done the tour maybe once, like we've had people come back and do the tour a few times because they found it so interesting. But you can also walk in. We have a craft and whiskey shop. We have a beautiful bar here that has a lot of history in the bar as well. Half the bar came from Jameson's distillery and the other half came from Sister Sarah's, actually in Letterkenny, before they renovated it. So it's a stunning bar. There's nothing in this building that is new. Everything has a story to it. So we have a coffee shop as well, and you can come in, you can have a whiskey tasting, you can go to the coffee shop,
right?
You know, you can sit and relax in beautiful atmosphere here as well. And we do a lot of other events here too. So it's a beautiful venue for events as well.
And savouring that smell, the aroma of the whiskey being distilled, there's nothing like it. Just the warmth of that when it hits you is lovely.
Everybody gets the smell, but we as a team here, we're used to it.
Yeah.
if you know what I mean.
Accustomed to it.
Just to mention, we have a great team here as well of storytellers and just really, really lovely people. And you know, paid meal of voucher is very important to us here in Crawley as well. We try to give all the tourists and all the local people, you know, this paid meal of voucher from the minute they walk through the door.
Yeah. So now this Friday, the 4th of July, yous are celebrating 3 years open. So yous have a bit of a treat for visitors to the distillery.
Yeah, so basically tomorrow we're having it's been an incredible journey. So we're celebrating this journey. We're open tomorrow from 12 o'clock to 7 p.m. So our plan is tomorrow at 3 p.m. because we're celebrating the 3 years of the visitors experience. We're going to have a toast with Crawley whiskey, and we're going to have refreshments, and there's live music, and everybody's welcome to come in. We're offering, if you book online, you can book a tour and you get 50% discount by using the code at the checkout, 3 years. So it's going to be great fun tomorrow. So we're asking everyone that's available, please call in. We'd love to see you all here in Crawley.
And in terms of the future for Crawley Distillery, is there any plans?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're planning and working very hard all the time to increase our visitors' numbers. And also we have a lovely release due in November now, which is a Pedro Jimenez PX release in our whiskey range. And it's absolutely stunning. We're working on that at the moment. And just we're hoping then eventually we'll be increasing our production. But basically things are going really well here for us, and we're just so incredibly lucky, and we want to thank everyone that supported us over the years as well.
And I think that process of whiskey is amazing. You know, it's so time consuming, and somebody receives a bottle and just to think of the work that has gone into that, the time that's gone into it is amazing.
Like, it takes a long time to make the whiskey. A lot of distilleries, when they first open, they start making it, you know, a gin or a vodka or something fast, you know, to kind of bring in some income. But the owners here wanted to be exclusive to whiskey only. So they decided they would ask people, you know, would they be interested in buying some barrels full of whiskey here at the very beginning. So we're very lucky that we got so many people, which we call our 180 Club, that purchased barrels here at the very beginning, when 2018 to 2020, when they first started distilling. And that funded us then to open up the Visitors Centre 3 years ago, and also get fresh equipment for the Visitors Centre. There's people there like Enya, the singer, that bought a barrel. There's like just local friends of the owners, locals to here, neighbours of ours, business people, and just overall, they were the people that helped us open up the Visitors Centre, along with Resna Giltacta as well. It helped us with the funding there as well. So,
and even that's a story in itself, retaining, you know, that local heritage. And
absolutely. We're showing off the heritage. We're keeping, you know, the Giltacta alive here. We're only 25 minutes from Glenveigh National Park, you know, in that beautiful, you know, that beautiful road, and underneath the mountains, Mount Errigal there. Like, so it's stunning. We're trying to bring people further in from Glenveigh and Errigal Mountain into Crawley.
Yeah. It's a stunning, as you say, there's so much to encapsulate there that it's a lovely day out. You can do so much. So I'm sure you'll be looking forward to the celebrations. That is tomorrow. So get yourself down to the Crawley Distillery. And as Catherine said there, book online and you'll get a discount. Thank you so much. That is Catherine Nigrina, Visitors Experience Manager at the Crawley Distillery. And we'll be back now just in a couple of minutes.
Highland Bakery brings the magic to your morning tea break. Golden scones, still warm, soft in the middle and impossible to resist. Look for the packet with the rabbit on it. Fresh from the oven to your local shop. 25 years of Highland Bakery.
Euronics is celebrating 20 years in Ireland with amazing offers across all departments. Buy a gas cooker or hob and get free gas. Get big savings on washing machines, fridge freezers, TVs, laptops and more. Visit Ben Sweeney Euronics, Port Road, Letterkenny or the shopping centre Dunlow.
Brian McCormick Sports. Summer sale is now on. Click on bmcsports.ie. Up to 50% off. Brooks, Asics and Hoka footwear. In-store and online. Women's Adidas clothing. Save 30% on tops, tees and matching bottoms. Adidas and Puma football boots clearing up to 50% off. Summer sale now at Brian McCormick Sports, Main Street, Letterkenny. Or click on bmcsports.ie for next day delivery.
Looking for a career in Donegal with real purpose and growth potential? Tata Consultancy Services, proud winner of Workplace of the Year, is hiring customer service professionals. Be part of a passionate, innovative team with great opportunities to grow your tech career right here in Donegal. Apply today at tcscareers.ie. That's tcscareers.ie.
Great news for Lidl shoppers. We've introduced Lidl points on the Lidl Plus app. Earn points every time you shop. Then simply cash them in for money off vouchers or your favourite items for free. The more you shop, the more you save. Scan the new and improved Lidl Plus app today. T's and C's apply.
The 5th Letterkenny Blues and Roots Festival takes place from Thursday the 3rd to Sunday the 6th of July. 4 days of great live blues, roots and folk performances, featuring artists from Ireland and around the world. Over 70 gigs in 13 different venues, plus street entertainment on Saturday afternoon. Don't miss the Letterkenny Blues and Roots Festival from the 3rd to the 6th of July.
It's now 11 o'clock and time for the latest news headlines with Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Michaela. Good morning. A priest currently in custody on a charge of attempted sexual communication with a child has appeared at Derry Magistrates Court, where he was released into police custody for further questioning. 58-year-old Edward Gallagher of Orchard Park in Lifford in Donegal is charged with attempted sexual communication with a child on dates between April 2nd and April 17th this year. At today's sitting, Gallagher appeared and a PSNI inspector told the court police wanted to take him back into custody for 3 days to question him in regard to 7 possible new offences. A young girl has been killed and 3 others seriously injured in a crash in North Inishowen. The collision involving a car and a van happened on the R240 near Carndonagh shortly before 6:30 last evening. The woman who was driving the car, a male front seat passenger and another child who was a backseat passenger were rushed to Eltongavin Hospital in Derry in a serious condition. The road remains closed for a technical examination and Gardaí are appealing for witnesses. 2 men are due before Strabane Magistrates Court today in connection with drug-related offences. The men were detained following a planned search operation in the Strabane area yesterday, during which an estimated £1.4 million worth of suspected cannabis was found. Police say they've dismantled a large and sophisticated operation. Liverpool Football Club says it's devastated by the death of forward Diogo Jota. The 28-year-old Portugal international was killed alongside his brother in a car crash in northwest Spain. He won every domestic honour at Anfield and had recently lifted the Nations League trophy with his country. And passengers are being warned of some disruption on flights because of a strike in France. French air traffic controllers are engaging in industrial action today and tomorrow. Aer Lingus says some of its flights to and from Paris and Nice have been cancelled and anyone impacted has already been contacted. There are the headlines. Back with headlines again at 12 noon.
Organ donation saves and transforms lives. A change in Irish law means that if you are an adult, you will now be considered an organ donor when you die. The choice to become an organ donor is yours, but it's important that your loved ones know your wishes. A register is available for those who would like to opt out of organ donation. Visit hse.ie/organ donation or call HSE Live on 1800 700 700 to find out more. From the HSE.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
It is a 9 till noon show and it's Michaela Clark standing in today for Greg Hughes. Now, We are joined by Dr. Dermot O'Callaghan, ESRI postdoctoral research fellow and the co-author of the study Effects of Inducements on Sports Gambling and Decision Errors. Gambling offers such as free bets and money-back guarantees lure people to bet more, making those at risk of problem gambling especially vulnerable, new research has shown. Good morning to you, Doctor.
Good morning, Michaela.
So tell us a bit about this study. Obviously, it's an issue we have talked about for quite a long time. This obviously spurred you on to carry out this. So what was the main takeaway from it?
So the main takeaway from the study was that these kind of gambling offers, free bets, money back offers, these kind of things, gets people to gamble more, right? So people who saw offers in our study gambled 10% more than people who didn't see offers, and also makes them less likely to opt out of betting. So people were 50% less likely to choose not to bet. And I guess most concerning is that those who are at risk of problem gambling, for those people, the effects of the offers were stronger.
And it obviously shows there's been so much, talk about these ads being shown, but it shows that, the gambling industry seems to kind of pick on anything that they can effectively get away with to get that money in.
Well, yeah, so up until last year, when the Gambling Regulation Act was passed, October last year, you could say that a lot of gambling advertising and so on was effectively unregulated. Now the new Regulation Act does provide for much more stringent regulation of gambling advertisement overall, such as there's a 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. watershed going to be brought in for TV ads. There's restrictions on online advertising without consent and so on. And there's also some provision there for the prohibition, the banning of offers targeted at specific individuals, right? But what our findings say is basically our findings show that these offers really pose a real risk of financial harm to individuals, particularly vulnerable individuals who have gambling problems. And it does strengthen the case for increased regulation, for the regulation of these offers to go beyond what's already in the legislation. So other European countries have done things like prohibiting giving offers to those who are at risk of problem gambling and capping the maximum value of offers, or another one is that you could ban giving offers to people to sign up as new customers. So there are just a few things that have already been done in other European countries, and yeah, as I said, there's scope there for the regulation to go further, I think, to prevent gambling harms.
And in terms of the research that you carried out, talk to me a bit about that sample of people. Was it very targeted on your behalf?
Yes, it was. So we focused on men under the age of 40. And well, there's two reasons. Number one, that particular group has the highest prevalence of problem gambling, right? So we did a study in 2023 where we showed that 1 in 30 adults in Ireland has problem gambling. That's 3%. For men in that age category, it's up around 5 or 6%, right? And the second thing is that I guess that group is most likely to engage in sports betting, and also there's research out there that says, and anecdotally, you would hear lots of stories that men of in this particular age bracket are particularly targeted by advertisements and these gambling offers, in particular on podcasts, online, on TV, whatever it is. So we thought it was important to focus on that particular group because they're most at risk.
And I suppose one of the worrying points within this is that participants were asked about their understanding of inducements, and even though, despite them being regular bettors, they didn't realise that there were restrictions then on the free bets. And I'm sure there's so many people like that.
Yes, that was another worrying finding, you could say. So yeah, we checked people's understanding of the terms and conditions and restrictions on the bets and the offers we had shown them during the study. And yeah, as you say, a lot of people many of them regular bettors, didn't realize that, for example, with a free bet, that once you use that bet, and even if you win with it, you only get the winnings back and you don't get the stake. And that's standard practice in the real world with gambling operators. And so essentially a lot of misunderstanding of the restrictions on these inducements, making people think that they're more valuable than they really are.
And do you have any figures as to how much money would have been spent on the inducement bets?
During the experiment, is it?
Yeah.
During our study. So we know that the participants who saw, so we had two groups of participants. One group saw offers and the other group didn't see offers, right? So the group that saw offers bet 10% more than the group that did see offers. I don't have it off the top of my head now what the euro value that was.
But I suppose it depends what the initial bet was, but even that 10% is quite a big increase.
It is indeed, yeah. And when you consider that, the overall, on average, the betting for the bettor is a loss-making activity, in that the bookie or the gambling operator will, on average, over time, profit out of it. So it indicates higher levels of financial losses. And also another aspect of the study that was quite illuminating for us was that for most of the bets that participants saw, the odds were set at the odds being offered by online gambling operators at that time. So this was for Euro 2024 matches, right? But for a small number of bets, we reduced the odds to make them unfavorable to the bettor, so they were well below the market rate, right? So that meant that essentially it was really bad value for the participant to choose that bet. But when participants saw offers, they were actually more than 3 times more likely to pick those bad value bets, which indicates that these inducements can push people into making bad decisions that can lead to, potentially large financial losses.
Yeah, but you even see it now, the case of, these online competitions. If you sign up for one, you're signed up and you get so many emails they would claim, oh, you can buy this ticket for £1 and you can win 20,000. There's just so much of it. It's so widespread at the moment.
Yes. So yeah, sure. There's a lot of different. The offers are a very, very heavily used marketing tool, not just in sports betting, but also for, as you said, competitions, for things like the online casino gambling, slot machines, these kind of things. So certainly, as I said, there's room there for, and there's certainly a case there for increased regulation to, if nothing else, to reduce the extent to which people are being bombarded with these offers and gambling advertising more generally.
And do you believe that the free bet should be cut completely, or that there just needs to be more regulation of it?
To be honest, it's not for me to say. So our evidence shows that these things can cause, these offers, free bets, money back guarantees, they run a real risk of financial harm, right, for consumers, and especially people with problem gambling. But in the end of the day, policy making is a very complex process. So but yeah, as I said, there's scope there for increased regulation, certainly.
Dr. Dermot O'Cally, thank you so much for joining us this morning. That's certainly a topic that always interests a lot of people gambling, and the issue of free bet. And you can understand how so many people get caught up in that, and you can understand why the gambling companies target individuals as well. Just a quick look at some of your comments. After Crawley Dolls finished up in what is now the Crawley Distillery, Nouveau Temps started on the 10th of March 1980 and was producing transformers and was in operation for years before closing. I worked there for 7 years, a listener says. 3 scam calls in the last 24 hours from Revolut, a 32 number, Belgium. I don't answer as I have no contacts in Belgium. Please be careful, a listener says. Another, let's all get behind Donegal. More flags up around the place. I must say, even though I'm from Tyrone, that I love the buzz it creates, and I love seeing the signs out, we're supporting Donegal, and seeing the flags up on people's cars. It does create a great buzz. Another listener says, I would like to point out that I am in no way opposed to organ donation. It's the opt-out clause that I have the issue with.
Donegal. Thinking of cutting your energy bills or upgrading your home? DLDC and Mount Lucas are bringing the Retrofit Roadshow to you. Join us in Dunloe July 14th to 18th and Letterkenny July 21st to 25th. Free sessions for homeowners. Learn how to boost your BER, upgrade your insulation and access SEAI grants. One-day certified training for tradespeople. Future-proof your skills in NZEB retrofitting. Places are limited. Book now at dldc.org or call 074 9127056. DLDC, bringing energy expertise to your doorstep.
Rossview Interiors in Letterkenny are delighted to offer a limited quantity of sofas just in at unbelievable knockdown prices, with suites reduced from €2,050 to €1,250 and corner suites from just €1,350. There's also storage beds down from €650 to €450 and huge savings on a selected range of dining sets. So make your way to Rossview Interiors, Rossview Business Park, Letterkenny, just off the Polestar roundabout, as these bargains won't last.
Big summer sale is on at Evolve Clothing. All your favourite brands, all reduced. Huge savings in store at Letterkenny Retail Park. Or shop online now at evolveclothing.com. When it's gone, it's gone.
Join us at Austin Alton Gortahork this and every Friday night for Donegal's best night of music and dance with one of Ireland's finest singer-songwriters and entertainers, Sinead Crampsey, on stage from 10 p.m. Admission is free and there's complimentary refreshments on the night. Don't miss it. Sinead Crampsey every Friday night, all summer long at Austin Alton Gortahork.
Are you decorating your home or maybe designing a workspace? At Foy's, we've got everything you need. As the largest paint and wallpaper stockist in the Northwest, we supply trusted names like Farrow and Ball, Dulux, Fleetwood, Little Green and Colour Trend. So from residential to commercial, we'll help you get the job done right. Visit Foy's in Letterkenny and Ballybuffet, where our qualified interior designers and paint colour consultants are ready to help.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is?
The time is now exactly 15 minutes past 11. Some of your comments now again. Hi, just to let people know that the Farland Walk in Burt is badly growing over single file where two people could easily walk side by side. Who's responsible for taking care of it? It's not nice. Do any others find it neglected? The lady mentioning waiting a month to get keys for their social housing home. That's standard practice as I was in that situation myself and ended up with a brilliant social house. Another listener says we need penalty points for drivers that are driving too slow. Some people have hospital appointments. I'm waiting on an operation since 2019. If that surgical hub had have came to Donegal, I may have stood a chance of getting it done shortly. Looks like I have another few years to wait. Another listener says, I heard that the minor injuries part in the A&E will be shutting as the managers and consultants won't hire people to staff it. Maybe ask the hospital management and the minister about this. I had an exceptionally great experience in the Purple Pathway with my kids. Well, the hospital says that there are no plans to close the minor injury section of Letterkenny University Hospital's emergency department at the moment. I'm joined now on the line by Gary McCross, and you'll remember Gary, he's the father of Zach, and as a family they've travelled to the Netherlands for treatment, and delighted to be joined by Gary now. Good morning. We'll get back to Gary now. I think I put up the wrong feeder there, but we'll get to him shortly. Some of your comments now in the meantime. Hi Greg, Councillor Jerry McMonigal was on regarding Donegal County Council being bottom of the new league table for the provision of social housing. He spent the best part of an hour rhyming off the usual excuses and defending the indefensible. He blamed the 2008 economic crash. He blamed lack of funding from government. He blamed the slow process. He blamed defective blocks. The fact of the matter is that the council, despite being aware of a defective blocks crisis for over a decade, has failed to put social housing on the county development plan. Councillor Canning stated on your show during the last election that social housing was not included because the council are fully on top of the housing list. Councillor McMonigal admitted that people are presenting as homeless on a daily basis and they have nowhere to go. We did have that discussion earlier in the week, and Councillor McMonigal did say that there are plans for housing included in the county development plan. I'm joined now, I think, by Gary McCrossan. Good morning to you, Gary.
Morning, Michaela. How's things?
I'm good. So, Gary, you're the father of Zach, and you've travelled to the Netherlands for Zach's first bone marrow transplant. How did things go with the operation?
Yeah, so Zach would have got his bone marrow stem cell transplant done yesterday. So yesterday would be classed as day 0 in the hematology world. So the transplant itself, we can say it was a success, but ultimately it's a long kind of drawn out process in advance, and for a number of weeks after the fact as well. So like a bone marrow transplant wouldn't necessarily be a surgical swap, if that makes sense. It's not like there's a surgeon, going in and removing his bone marrow and replacing it with the donors. It's more of it's kind of, it goes in through an IV basically. So ultimately when a donor is donating the bone marrow, there's a whole procedure done with a surgical procedure done with the donor, and their bone marrow samples are removed, and there's some work done with them in the lab then, and then they're put into like an IV drip, we'll say. So Zach's treatment ultimately would have started last week, and that would have been mainly to suppress his current immune system. So he would have got a series of chemotherapy and immunosuppressant drugs to bring his immune system down to 0, and ultimately then make way for the new bone marrow and the new stem cells.
And how long was that operation? I'm sure it was a very long time waiting, despite the length of time it took for yourselves.
So, as I say, it's not necessarily an operation. It's more a long drawn out process. So the IV drip would have lasted for about 3 hours yesterday. The doctors and stuff like that are in the room as well, and there's always a very high risk of his body immediately rejecting the donor cells. So you're kind of nervously waiting for the 3 hours to finish, and then there's he's been monitored 24/7 around the clock for the past 48 hours in a build up to this to make sure he's strong enough for it, and he'll continue to be monitored around the clock now for the next few weeks. So we're really, although the transplant is done and it gives us a bit of hope that his body hasn't rejected anything, that there's always a very high risk of something happening now in the near future. And we know that firsthand. We're one of the few families, I suppose, that are going into this for the second time. So yeah, we know what to expect. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. So we are quite nervous about the weeks to come, but we're prepared for it as well, if that makes sense.
And do you remain in the Netherlands now until you're kind of out of that zone, that danger zone?
So we'll remain in the Netherlands throughout the danger zone, which we imagine will be another 4 to 6 weeks, but we also need to remain here as outpatients for maybe the same length of time again. So it all just depends on complications that are to come, whatever infections he develops, how easy they are to treat, because ultimately he's going to have no immune system whatsoever for the next few weeks. And obviously we do everything we can to prevent him getting infections, but it's impossible really when you have 0 immune system. He can give himself an infection basically with what's already in his body. So we'll be here at least for another 10 weeks, if best case scenario.
And what about Zach himself? I'm sure the process on his body was quite tiring. How is he feeling himself now?
So the first week of treatment, he was flying it really. Like he was, we got to go out every day, and the hospital here is fantastic. The facilities are amazing. There's playgrounds everywhere and toys everywhere, So we definitely made the most of the first week as an inpatient. Over the weekend there, we noticed we could clearly see the chemotherapy starting to do its job, and it's really totaled him, to be honest with you. He's been sleeping more or less for the last 3 or 4 days and not eating. He was very, very sick over the weekend. So the doctors here decided to put in his feeding tube through his nose. So it's just a tube that goes through his nose and down into his stomach. So we got that done on Monday. So that's obviously just to help with his strength for the transplant and what's to come after that. So he's in good enough spirits, but sleeping more or less all day and all night. Thankfully, his sickness has kind of gone away now as well, but he's getting a lot of fluids and stuff, so his body would have swollen up, and his eyes and his face and stuff like that. So it's difficult to watch.
Yeah, and you mentioned there that you have been through it before. Do you see this? Do you see any positives? You know, you're going through this journey for a second time. Do you see any repetition that you think, I know we have to go through this now, but there is this? Do you preempt the next stage yourself?
Yeah, it's a good point. So if we were going through this the first time, we, for example, when Zach does get an infection and things become quite panicky, we know that there is a light at the end of that, because we've done it before. With Patrice, when she got her transplant, it was kind of coming up to the stage that Zach's in now, where she would have been admitted to ICU twice. So he might not end up in ICU, but if we know that even if he does, he has every fighting chance to get out of it as well. Because we've seen it firsthand with Patrice, and she's as strong as she ever was.
And in terms of Zach, whenever he comes back to Ireland, what kind of care will he need then?
He will go through multiple blood tests. So he's got a central line installed that goes through his chest and into his heart. So it's ultimately to make the blood testing procedure a lot easier on the body. So they don't need to get their skin pricked constantly every day. So this is basically just connected up to that line. So when Zach's home, he will be up and down to Dublin for many months, and he'll be going through a lot of physiotherapy and stuff just to get his body working again. But I suppose it all depends. It really just depends on the next few weeks and how well he comes out of what's to come.
Take it step by step.
Exactly,
and was the entire family able to go with you? Patrice continues to get treatment, so did she have to remain back home?
So we done some fundraising, and thankfully, with the help of the community, we were able to get absolutely everybody over here. It's fantastic. It's amazing, and it's worked so well with Zach over the weekend and the last few days.
That's so important to Zach as well, to have everybody that's he's familiar with around him.
Exactly. Yeah, like you could see his little perky personality just dropping tremendously there over the last couple of days, and it's just a matter of me scooting over to the house that we've rented, picking up the kids, bringing them over, and the kids can play in his room. And we took Zach out on the wheelchair for a little while yesterday and the day before, and even just watching his brothers and sisters playing in the wee playgrounds in the hospital, it really lifts his spirits. And as well as that, the grandparents are here watching them at the house, myself and Patrice, depending on the situation at the time. But, we're either both at the hospital with Zach, or we're rotating, day in, day out. And Patrice has been able to get the neighbouring hospital to take her on board as an outpatient as well. Which is fantastic. So there's a lot of collaboration between St. James's, Crumlin, and Temple Street, and the hospitals over here as well. So
I'm sure that was a fear, when you knew you had to travel to the Netherlands. I'm sure Patrice was in fear, would she have to stay at home? But that's amazing that she's able to receive her care over there too.
Exactly. Now, she does still need to travel home at least once a month. So she'll be flying to Dublin on the 7th of July. So she'll be going over there to her main consultant and, you know, getting all of her usual tests and stuff like that done that she would usually get when we go down to Dublin. So that's still happening. She'll still be going over at least once a month. So far, she's had a chemo week last week. It's caused a little bit of problems for her, but you know, she's still as strong as she ever was, and so far so good, and hopefully it stays like that.
And you spoke as well about that support from the community here back home, and everybody is thinking of you, and it's great to hear then, you know, this update of your journey. But that support is so important now going forward as well. You still need all that support.
Exactly. You know, it's to be honest, the support we got from the community was so overwhelming at the start. Like it's unbelievable, and it's even difficult for me to talk about how generous people are and how much they've actually helped. You know, I'm going to concentrate on Zach and Patrice now, but you know, once this is all over, I'll be doing everything to give back to the community. It's really opened up my eyes of how good people are and continue to be. Like it's, you know, it's not even over now. There's loads more people have been reaching out to me, and they're setting up different things, and you know, even the drive that Highland Radio had kind of publicised as well there with Leslie, Dennis and Lee, in support of Zach and another little girl that's arrived over here to the Netherlands, Cassie. So Patrice has met her and her family yesterday. So it's just fantastic. Like it's not just us going through this. It seems to be the whole community, and it's very much appreciated.
Yeah, and even those thoughts and prayers, I'm sure, is so comforting for yourselves.
Unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. You know, we did see it firsthand with Patrice, and you know, it's amazing how the support continues. And again, I genuinely have no words at the minute. I suppose when this is all over, I'll try and figure something out to give back, but yeah, one thing at a time.
That's it. And that GoFundMe page is still live as well for anybody interested. Gary, thank you so much for joining me, and we wish Zach all the best, and we hope he keeps making progress, and we see you all back home very soon. Thank you very much.
Really appreciate it. Thank you.
That is Gary McCrossan there, father of Zach. So we're thinking about them, and the entire Donegal is as they're on that journey. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Step into style at Grant's Shoe Shop Buncrana. Proudly family run since 1926. From Clark's to Skechers, Echo to Bugatti, we've got quality shoes for men, women and kids all under one roof. And guess what? The summer sale is on now. That means sizzling savings on top brands. Pop in today and treat your feet. Only at Grant's Shoe Shop, where tradition meets style. Main Street, Buncrana.
New this week in Home Store and More. All metal kitchen bins are all half price. But better hurry, because when all our half price metal kitchen bins are gone, they're gone. Also, all indoor clothes areas and all summer duvets are still all half price. But when all the half price indoor clothes areas and all the half price summer duvets are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More. Visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
It's the 50% off mega summer sale at Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring. Up to 50% off all tiles, wood flooring, outdoor porcelain tiles, cladding and bathware. Everything in store has been slashed in price. The Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring 50% off mega summer sale. Stores nationwide. Sale now on.
The countdown is on for Carrygart Fest, July 11th to 13th in the Marquee at the Carrygart Hotel, featuring One for the Road, Bingo Loco Goes Country and the Whistling Donkeys. Tickets on Eventbrite or from hotel reception. Why not stay over? Great accommodation and brand new restaurant await. Book now at carryguardhotel.com.
Getting your first electric car is like meeting your partner's family for the first time. Nerves are normal. You were stressed about awkward silence with her dad. Now you chat for hours about sport. You're worried her mum wouldn't like you. Now she likes you better than her own son. Likewise, once you experience how great an EV can be, you'll never look back, especially if it's a Skoda. Order your electric Enyaq or Elrock today.
Skoda. Your local Skoda dealer is DMG Motors, Clar Road, Donegal Town. Telephone 074 9721 396.
Irish summers, eh? If only we were guaranteed the weather. But what is guaranteed is the €1 million One Lotto Plus player must win this Saturday, July 5th. That's €1 millionaire, guaranteed, whatever the weather. So, rain or shine, play Lotto with Plus for your chance to win. The National Lottery. It could be you. Play responsibly. Play for fun.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
Now, the government is being urged to rethink its plans to increase personal injury awards. It comes as the central bank reports the cost of settling motor claims rose 23% in the first 6 months of 2024 compared to 2023. It found the cost of motor claims settled between January and June last year was €414 million. The government plans to increase the cost of personal injury awards, and the Alliance for Insurance Reform believe that this would be detrimental to customers. I'm joined by CEO for the Alliance for Insurance Reform, Brian Hanley. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning.
So we'll start first with these figures that the cost of settling motor claims went up 23%. Those figures are very stark.
It's a very significant rise, and in just 6 months. So the cost of settling motor claims is largely made up of the volume of claims in the period, the cost of repairs, and then the cost of any personal injuries. And today's report from the central bank shows increases in the volume of claims and in the cost of repairs in an amount that's quite steep, really, in such a short period of time. But the big worry we have now is that the government looks poised to increase the personal injury awards by 17%, meaning all three legs of this stool will be increasing. And if that happens, I think what we're seeing with premiums going up month on month, this is only going to get worse if the government go ahead with this increase.
And what do you think the reality is for consumers? Do you think they'll just opt not to have insurance?
Well, God, I certainly hope that that's not the case, but I know the rates of insurance in the country aren't as good as elsewhere. Although I think with detection rates increasing, hopefully that will improve the level of insurance. But there's no doubt that the cost of living has people really to the pin of their collar at the moment.
Can't afford it.
And what we don't need is, I suppose, for any additional burdens. And bear in mind too, personal injury awards are already far higher in this country than any other in Europe. So we're not asking for anything that's unreasonable. They're still far higher than other countries, and we just don't want to add additional challenges when inflation is driving up the cost of repairs and we're seeing the volume of claims increase, because motorists just can't afford really to have any more increases.
And do we know why they are so high compared to other parts of the world?
This, I suppose, has been the way for a very long time. But the last government, to its credit, did take steps to try and address the size of awards, and indeed had a fairly large insurance action plan to try and get the cost of insurance and access to cover under control. So in 2021, they introduced the personal injury guidelines, and that replaced the Book of Quantum, which essentially is the table by which judges assess injuries and appropriate awards for the type and severity of the injury. And the new guidelines that came in 2021 did help bring awards down by 30%. I mean, still far higher than other countries. I know there was a report only a few years back that found that awards in Ireland were 440% higher than in England.
Crazy.
So we had a long way to go to get them back to something a bit more comparable to other countries. And the worry is if the guidelines that came in 2021 brought awards down by, let's say, 30%, a 17% increase now stands to obliterate half of that. And then they're set to review the awards every 3 years. But there's another problem as well. And it's not just the direct increase that no doubt will be passed on to policyholders. If we're increasing awards every 3 years like this, it's going to discourage people from settling their claims at the Injuries Board, which is where we want claims settled, because it's much quicker and a lot cheaper because you reduce the legal expenses associated with claims. So I think for that reason as well, it's really important the government just press pause now on putting in an increase, because today's figures are very stark and we know premiums are going up month on month and people just can't afford for them to go up much more.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned there, that increase, but when you take the cost of living into account, you mentioned they were decreased by 30%. You add on then that 17% increase, and then you add on the cost of living. They're effectively returning to where they were.
That's the worry, isn't it? I mean, and we're only 2.5 years away from the next increase. I mean, the cycle by which the awards are reviewed, they're just too close together. We haven't given these new guidelines time to bed in because there's a lag time with all claims and when they're settled and so on. So what we need really, I think, is just to press pause on this. I think the review periods need to be extended. And I think a top priority for the government with its new action plan for insurance reform coming out later this year is to get more cases settled at the Injuries Board, because they'll do it in half the time and awards are about the same.
And I suppose that benefits the consumer and, you know, those that are paying out then as well. It's a win-win if you do that.
Absolutely. And so the central bank report today also looked beyond motor at kind of public liability insurance that local businesses and charities and sports groups need to carry. And a couple of points on that. One, they were very clear that the average award, whether you settled at the Injuries Board or in litigation, was exactly the same.
Right.
But the difference with the legal fees at the Injuries Board were about €600. But if they got the case into litigation, legal fees were €24,500. And all of that has to be paid for by policyholders. So unless it's a very complex case, claimants certainly don't lose out by settling at the Injuries Board, and indeed they'll get their award in about half the time. So it's really an important message, I think, to let people know that you will get the same award at the Injuries Board, but you'll get it in half the time. And then for policyholders, if that happens, premiums should come down because we're reducing the overall cost, particularly around the legal fees.
Because that £24,000, if it was a business that had to pay that could close a business.
Oh,
the legal fees.
I mean, it's astronomical sum of money, and it's nearly the same amount as the actual award. Average awards are €26,000, and the legal costs on average in the litigation channel are 24.5. So you can see what you're doing to the overall cost of settling a claim. And look, nobody has any issue with very complex or contentious cases. You know, people taking that legal advice, and it might need longer for the case to play out and so on, or even ultimately go to court. But for the vast majority of minor or moderate injuries, the Injuries Resolution Board is very well equipped. There's one other point that I just think it's worth mentioning. While the news was pretty bleak on the motor side in terms of the increase in the cost of claims, on the liability side, we have seen the cost of claims come down by as much as 10% in the first 6 months of last year. And in that context, there's really no excuse for insurance premiums for your local childminder or corner shop or pub or hotel for their, or indeed any of them involved in the tourism industry who are also really impacted by this. With awards, the cost of awards coming down, it's well past time that we would see premiums coming down to match it.
And that's been the age-old argument that, we've had this discussion for so long about the cost of insurance that it's not being passed on to the consumer.
Huge problem, absolutely. And the figures today are very stark in that regard. And I'm pleased that the new government, when it came in, renewed its commitment to tackling insurance reform. And certainly from our perspective, it's all about delivery now. We need to see more competition, I think, in the liability market, which might help drive down the cost of insurance because the market becomes a little bit more competitive. And we haven't seen new entrants in a while. But with all the reforms that came in the last 5 years, whether it's the changes to duty of care or the personal injury guidelines, it's a very attractive and profitable market for insurers. But I think we just need to get that message out, and the Office to Promote Competition in the Insurance Market in the Department of Finance needs to do a really good job on that over the next few years for all our sake.
And do you feel that the government does listen, but do you feel that the issue is they're not acting fast enough on this?
I think the government deserves a lot of credit for the last action plan on insurance reform. I mean, they delivered 66 different actions, some of them really quite substantial, in the hope. And then, frankly, they gave the insurers everything they said they needed for premiums to come down. And I think it must be galling for them, as it is for every one of us when we go to renew our motor insurance or anything else, to see premiums going up. However, I mean, today's concern is the fact that in the next week or two, they stand ready to increase awards that are already higher than any other country. And that is just completely counterproductive and is going to make matters worse for motorists up and down the country.
And is there any process or any regulation that governs how Ireland can have such high premiums as opposed to other countries? Is there any European-wide regulation in relation to this?
No, I suppose there are certain, but they're more certain regulations, but they tend to be more around competition or around financial probity and so on. I think it's very hard to justify. And one of the size of premiums in this country relative to others, and I know one of the reasons that insurers point to is the legal system here and the costs of claims here, and they are right that the legal fees associated with settling claims are too high and are often unnecessary. But really, insurers are sitting here making in profits that are 2.5 times the international norm for public liability claims. Their margin was, I think, 13% in the last central bank
So
report I
it's
saw.
not as if the cost of our legal system is really costing them in the end up.
Well, of course, right? Because we policyholders pay for everything. It's the same. It's the same in everything, and it's hugely frustrating. So I think, look, while it's important, we tackle these issues, and we will continue pressing the government to make sure that they don't increase awards at a time when the volume of claims is going up and when the cost of repairs has led to significant increases. And look, we can all do our little bit too, and shopping around when it comes to our premiums does help to nudge the insurance market in the right direction. And I know it's a chore to have to do it, but we can all do our little bit to make them more competitive if they see that we're willing to change insurers to get a better deal.
Yeah. Brian Hanley, CEO of the Alliance for Insurance Reform, thank you so much for joining me this morning. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back shortly.
Luxury living begins at the heart of your home, your fireplace. At Sprat Fireplaces, Newmills Letterkenny, we offer statement fireplaces, bespoke surrounds, and a wide range of stoves, including gas, wood burning, pellet, and bioethanol models. No chimney? No problem. We'll help you choose and install the perfect solution. Stylish, efficient, and tailored to your home. Call 074 91 24144 or visit spratfireplaces.ie. Sprat Fireplaces, bringing comfort and style home.
Looking for a quality used car you can count on? Go local, go trusted. At iMotors, we've been a proud family business since 1971 with hand-picked, fully checked used cars and real aftercare you can rely on. Generations of happy drivers, one trusted name. Visit imotors.ie today.
iMotors, fearless generation.
Since I switched to Hidden Hearing, I can hear it all.
You could save up to €3,000 off invisible hearing aids. Save when you switch to us, upgrade, or save on your very first hearing aids. Pre-phone 1-800-370-000. Switch and save at hiddenhearing.ie. You should go to the hearing experts. T's and C's apply.
Bedtime bargains at Cooney's Home Interiors. Huge savings on in-stock beds. 4'6" fabric bed frame from €299. 5-foot bed frame with mattress only €599. Mattresses from €129. Set of pillows €10. Bed sheets from only €5. These are just some of the many offers in store at Cooney's Home Interiors, Letterkenny. Offers only while stocks last.
This July 18th and 19th, Gweedore comes alive with Salt Music Festival 2025. On Saturday 19th, experience The Stunning, the Sharon Shannon Big Band with Garen Noon, the Luke Combs Experience, and many more. For more information and tickets, go to saltfella.ie. Salt Music Festival 2025. 2 days, one place, great music.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Find all your summer essentials from fashion and accessories to beauty and homeware at McElhenny's. Explore more in-store or shop online at mcelhennys.com today.
Today's weather rather cloudy with outbreaks of rain and drizzle. It will brighten up this afternoon with scattered showers, some heavy with the chance of an isolated thunderstorm. Highest temperatures of 15 to 17 degrees. Now, many of you will be glad to hear that as of today, a new likely scam label will be added to text messages that users receive from companies or organisations that have not registered with the Commission for Communications Regulation. This is in a bid to protect mobile users from falling victim to scams. I'm joined by Freddie McBride from Comray. Good morning to you, Freddie.
Good morning, Michaela. How are you?
I'm good. So this will be widely welcome. Talk to us a little bit about this likely scam label. How does it work?
Sure, yeah. So many of you will be aware that scam calls and texts are a big societal problem, and they cost society about €300 million per year, and of that about 125 million can be attributed to scam texts. So what we're trying to do really is to restore trust in calling and sending messages. So we've implemented what's called an SMS sender ID registry. So you'll know from, if you look in your message threads on your phone, you've got messages there from your friends and family, and also from organizations that you might be a customer of or a patient of. So it could be from a delivery company, from your doctor about an appointment, your dentist, that type of thing. So what we've done is we've implemented this registry. So organizations using these sender IDs, they need to register them with us. And when they're registered, then, the message will pass through to customers without any issue. But from today, if they're not registered, then they will be modified. So the SMS sender ID will be modified to the words likely scam. And that is a notification to the end user to treat that message with caution, and not to click in any links in it, or not to call any numbers that are contained in the message. Now, what we would say is we have this period now where the likely scam will be implemented. And it's, I suppose, a wake-up call to businesses out there who have not already registered their sender IDs to do so as quickly as possible.
Yeah, that's
so
very
from this
important
morning-
because it could be a call from a hospital, it could be a call from a doctor. These are essential calls, but this likely scam label, people will welcome this so much that they will, follow this. And so many people have been caught with scams that they're very unlikely to engage with someone who isn't registered with yourselves.
Yeah, and that's the thing. But what we would say, particularly in the early days of this now, is, we are concerned about, legitimate traffic, like the example you gave from a doctor, that those sender IDs would be modified. So what we'd say is, if you get a message, you could be expecting a message maybe from your doctor, to look at it, treat it with caution. Don't, as I say, don't call any numbers or click on any links in the message. But what you can do is verify it independently. So if you do think it's your doctor, what we would recommend you do is give your doctor a call, tell them that you got this message, that it came up with likely scam, and then what your doctor can do then is they can contact us and they can register their sender ID, and within a day or so, that message will be in that sender ID will be in our registry, and there should be no issues from there forward.
And this label is so important for elderly or vulnerable people who are living alone, and hopefully it will, save money for people, which they're losing.
Absolutely. I mean, I mentioned the figures there. It is a real societal problem, and it causes a lot of anxiety for people. They're afraid to answer the phone at times, or, they're unsure. And, I suppose our overall objective with this is to restore trust in those communications tools that we use every day to keep in contact with family and friends and to do business.
And do you see this being extended? I know it's obviously at a very early stage, but do you see it being extended to phone calls?
Well, we're implementing a number of interventions. So this particular one that started today is for SMS. We've implemented a number of things already for voice calls. And since last October, when we started to implement these measures, we've blocked about 50 million calls, a little bit over that. And there's still another couple of those measures.
That's actually frightening, because it shows you how much calls are going through.
Yeah, indeed. These are being blocked completely, so they're not getting to the end user, which is great. And we have seen a marked reduction, but we still have a couple of more interventions to implement, and we'll get, that number will go even higher in terms of calls that are not getting to the end user and then not causing consumer harm.
So how can organisations or businesses get in touch to ensure that they're on this register?
Well, if they haven't already registered a sender ID, they can go to comreg.ie/sender ID. And there's very clear instructions there, a step-by-step process that they can follow. It's essentially an online form that they can fill in. So there's two steps to it, really. The first thing we do is we validate the organization's credentials. That's important because, if you like, this is the concept of a circle of trust, and we don't want to have any bad actors in it. So when we verify the credentials of the organization, and then they can register a sender ID, and something that this is made up of letters and numbers, and something that will be meaningful to their customers that they can expect to receive messages on.
And in terms of the government's role in this, do you think that there is still a lot of work to be done on their behalf?
Yeah, so I mean, government has been supportive in terms of, facilitating us and implementing these. I wouldn't say we're there yet. For example, this intervention today addresses only one part of the SMS market, and that's what we call application to person messaging. So this is the type of thing between businesses and customers. But we don't have protection at the moment for person to person SMS messages, and what we need for that is an SMS scam filter, is what it's called. And government is on the record this year as saying that they would bring legislation forward to implement an SMS scam filter, and the sooner that happens, the better protection the community will have.
And because scams are so sophisticated now and scammers seem to be a step ahead, is this something that will be continually reviewed then on your behalf?
Yeah, absolutely. Scammers are very agile. So what we need to do is, when you close down a particular avenue to a scammer, they'll find some other vulnerability or weakness in the system, and then we need to be alert to that, and we need to be able to pivot and deal with that particular issue. In many cases, we need to be able to anticipate it and make sure we do something in advance of it happening. But in some cases, we will have to react as well to protect end users. Yeah.
And sorry, just one final question. Maybe you did mention it, but this just relates to Irish businesses at the moment.
Yes, but it would also relate to businesses who are providing goods and services into Ireland.
Okay.
So they would have relationships with SMS providers into the mobile networks in Ireland. So they need to become part of this kind of circle of trust, if you like. And because we understand that the nature of business now is global. People do a lot of online shopping and things like that. So we need to be able to facilitate and cater for that market while protecting end users as well.
Yeah, there is a long way to go, but Freddie, this is a major step, and it's definitely a step in the right direction.
It is indeed. There's a good bit to go on this yet. What we would say is, from the 3rd of October, these messages that people receive, we won't be marking them likely scam anymore. We'll actually be blocking them.
Okay.
So what I would say to any businesses that might be listening out there, or it's not just businesses, it could be, your GA club, it could be your school, that they, go to comreg.ie/sender ID and register their sender IDs now, and don't leave it till the 2nd of October to do it. You can do it now.
Yeah.
And what we'll do then is literally validate all of the organizations using this service, and that will ultimately protect end users.
Yeah, that is very important. Freddie McBride from Comreg, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I think this is a great step in the right direction. Even this morning, the amount of comments coming in relating to scams, and I think it's particularly important for elderly people and those more vulnerable that may be living on their own. And, it's so easy to fall victim to a scam, but having that likely scam label now on a text it does make you think twice. And I know even my phone, it comes up now, scam call, and it does, as Freddie was talking about there, just declines the call straight away. But yeah, it's definitely a great step. One comment in from a listener: I would like to highlight that the Irish Times has a photo up of the crash scene in Carndonagh yesterday. Have people no respect? That paper is a disgrace. There's certainly no respect for all involved. Praying for all involved. Yeah, that is a discussion that is widely held sometimes in relation to should the photo of a crash scene be posted. I don't think, even if family has been notified, I don't think there's ever a right time, because that's someone's loved one, and just having that reminder that their loved one has died there, or they were seriously injured in that crash, just seeing that, and once it's on the internet, it's there forever. So I don't personally agree with photos of crash scenes ever being used. Well, that's it for the 9 till noon show this morning. My thanks to Carling Orr and Shannon Wilkin. John Breslin is up around the northwest, and we'll be back tomorrow morning